Welcome, welcome. We are live once again. Let me lower the music a little bit there. Oh, wrong button. There you go. That's good enough for right now, anyway. There we go. That's a little bit of scuff right there. Accidentally hitting the wrong button there. But that being said, how you all doing? Everyone doing all right? I sure am. I won't be for long, but right now we're okay. Oh my goodness, how are you all doing? This is going to be a long one, I think. Now, as some of you may know, I'm doing research for my Mary Sue video, and I figured, why not listen to the experts, who clearly know what they're talking about with Mary Sue's. There are clearly a lot of people who've made Mary Sue videos online before, and I figured, hey, why not listen to people who have studied Mary Sueism, who have analyzed the tropes and cliches accordingly, and see if they know something I don't. We'll find out, maybe. Or we'll be in a really bad place, one of the two. Oh my goodness. Jesus is a self-insert Mary Sue. He's literally God and can do miracles and can survive death. You know, when you put it like that, no, surprisingly there'll be no Lily Orchard today. It's going to be arguably worse. Okay. Well, worse in terms of content, I would say at least. Oh my goodness. A world without Mary Sue's. It's like... And listen, I'm gonna have a whole video detailing my thoughts on Mary Sue's, but you'll get the vibe of what I think as we go. I think that, you know, Mary Sue's, it's a product of writing, it's a product of experience, it's a product of what you happen to be good at creating and all that. A lot of Mary Sue's the product of kids trying to write, which, hey, I'm never gonna criticize a kid for practicing the creative arts. That's just not a thing I'm ever going to do. I do think it's lost all meaning, the term Mary Sue. Dante from the Divine Comedy kind of counts as one. Well, I wouldn't say that. Dante Alighieri in the Divine Comedy, he tends to, he's exploring, of course, the regions of hell and purgatory and heaven, but he has no real influence on what happens there. He's just shown it. There are points in the story where he tries to make a difference in hell to the condemned, but that doesn't really work out all that well. Let me adjust my mic real quick so you can get better. So, actually, I'm going to pour myself some tea. Please applaud. This was very difficult to get up here. I'm pouring myself some Lady Grey, which hopefully won't keep me up at night. The last time I combined alcohol with jar, it was not a fun time, so I've learned my lesson. Define kid. I'm 25 and still learning writing and politics. Hey, that's fine. Listen. There's one thing about writing that's very important. You are never a master of it. No matter what you do, no matter how many times you try, you will never be a master of writing. You will always be a student getting better. And the good news there is that as you get better and as you keep working, you make better stuff. That is how it is. Yes, the term Mary Sue was coined in the 70s for a parody character in Star Trek fiction. And the character itself was a parody of characters who would appear in Star Trek fiction. The self-insert, wish-fulfillment character, what have you. So there you go. Critical drinker ruined Jack Daniels for me. I miss Jack and Coke. That's fair. That's fair. Try Johnny Walker. Actually, try Jameson. That's a better... it's a better one. Yes. We as people are coming in... Yeah, we won't take too long before we get started. It's a bit of a crowd already, and I have seen about maybe 3 or 4 videos collectively that I think we can cover. A bit of shopkeeping. Wow, we just crossed 100,000 views on the recent Batman video, which is incredible. I am really surprised at how much you guys like my Batman stuff. But we'll get there. We'll get to that. Batman or Superman may come up during this video. One video we watch will be a rewatch of something that I had watched for a previous video, but I don't think I reacted on stream about. But we'll get there when it gets to it. Alright. I'm going to... I was just watching the other Jar live before this. This is going to be good for sure. Well, here's hoping. As you can tell from the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about both Jar and Literature Devil, which is a whole thing. Oh, what do you got here? Nick Wolf, thank you for the super chat. Shoveling my my wife's car out of the snow. For the love of God, Aunt, please cap the streams off with OSP. We all care about your well-being. Also, well said about us being students, always improvement. Yeah, exactly, because we all are students ultimately with this kind of stuff. I may cap it off with OSP. I could use a palate cleanser. They're actually talented, unlike some of the people we'll be looking at. That's not true. That's insulting. I don't want to insult them and say they're not talented. Just because the people we're criticizing aren't people I respect doesn't mean they're not talented in their own respects. But OSP is very talented. OSP is fantastic. Yeah, so this was actually the Nintendo background I put up. I haven't switched it out, but I figured I didn't have the energy to really go hunting for a different background. So Zelda and Link it is. And I have to admit, I've always loved Tears of the Kingdom Zelda. I'm pretty sure it's Tears of the Kingdom Zelda with her short hair and all that. I love that design. And I love Link with a little ponytail. It's a nice aesthetic. I don't know. I like it. I think it's cute. You're the Ant Queen. Okay. I accept that. First day back in school. Congratulations. Going back to university. That's exciting. Or high school. I'm not even sure. Okay. So, chat, I'm going to leave it up to you to decide where we start off. Chat, here are the options. And we're going to get to both, because I put them both in the thumbnail, and I feel like it would be a bad idea not to include both. But who do you want to do first? Jar or the literature devil? Which person should we examine first? I'll leave it up to... I'll let fate decide. Chat, you tell me who we want to take a look at. Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda had to wear a cape so fans wouldn't be distracted by her. Oh, God. Yeah, that's fair. It looks like chat's saying Jar so far. Yeah. So, looks like Jar's winning. We'll get to both. We're going to get to both. Don't worry. If whatever reason the one you vote for doesn't win, don't worry. Both are on the menu. But I'll let you decide a little bit longer. A lot of people haven't voted yet. I'm actually getting a little closer. We've technically done both. So... oh yeah, now the divide's getting a little wider. Okay. It's looking like we're going to be going Jar first. I love democracy. Wow, it's a big crowd tonight. Okay, so all Jar is known for now is scaring the heroes. Angels Art and Gaming, thank you for the super chat. Mary Sue's interest me because as a teen, I was so worried about making a Sue, it messed with my ability to make characters for a while. Yeah, that's a common experience. A lot of people felt that way, and that's why I really hate the concept of Mary Sue as a criticism. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. Lit Devil, the lamest chainsaw devil enemy. Yeah, right? But no, I want to get back. I 100% agree with you on Lit Devil being the worst chainsaw devil. Chainsaw Man enemy. But that being said, no, the fear of Mary Sue's kept me from writing sometimes too. I would go on to like those Quizilla quizzes, if you remember those, and type in, "Oh, is my OC a Mary Sue?" Yada yada yada, and it always turned out not to be. Or they always say, "Oh yeah, your character is anything they're good at, has a weapon that's unique to them, any unique qualities. Up to Mary Sue." We were so averse to writing Mary Sue's that we actually stagnated our own writing skills. WC Wilt, thank you for super chat. I'm bracing myself for an endurance test with tonight's stream. Yeah, honestly, you might need to. It's going to be a trip. Okay, it looks like Jar's going to win. We have over 115 votes. Let's end the poll right now. Okay, so we're going to start with Jar. And that's just as fine. I should probably mention that there are multiple videos from each creator that we will probably have to go back and forth between. So let me just type in Just a Robot and Mary Sue's. Now, Jar, for whatever reason, has made several Mary Sue videos. Now, one we had seen in a previous stream, so we are not going to rewatch this Mary Sue and Gary Sue's video, because that would be repetitious. But there were a few right here that were pretty... Oh, it's my live stream. There we go. But there were a few other videos I saw that he made that I think are interesting. I think this one from a year ago, that Mary Sue's are getting even worse, might be the best option to start with. And we can go back and watch others after this. I know you're all so excited to watch more Jar. No, we're just beginning right now. Blue Bow, thank you for super chat. Hoping your night is well. Still trying to figure out still trying to figure out my talking PTS for the ending video I mentioned. LMAO, happy to watch and hear discussion about this idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hope this gives you some ideas too, maybe. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it'll give you anti-ideas, which you don't want to have. But I digress. Let's take a look.
Mary had a little Sue. Its power level was as high as could be. Every show Mary Sue was in, the old fans were sure to go away because it was terrible.
Okay, so looking at that real quick, that was a pretty bad little rhyme there, buddy, but I digress. Very unoriginal. One might say the kind of thing a Mary Sue writer would put together, but I digress. Let's see what he's saying. So let's look at those examples real quick. Let's take a look.
Mary had a...
Okay, so Mary is the Snow Queen. Not the Snow Queen, the evil queen from Snow White, apparently.
Little Sue.
That's a weird, terrifying looking Mary Sue. For Mega, thank you for Super Chat. Accusation of making a Mary Sue contributed to me to throw out an entire first draft novel I'd written 12 years ago. Still haven't fully recovered. Well, I hope you do recover, because that's a lot. That's a big commitment to give up on. And quite frankly, listen, 12 years ago, you've grown as a writer. That's important to note. Every little accomplishment, you'll be a better writer now, but it's still rough. It's still rough. Angels Art and Gaming, thank you for Super Chat. Remember, if Jar angers you too much, take a break. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Emily, the goaltending druid, I think. Hi, Aunt. Been a fan since the YouTube critics vid. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you're on a stream. Well, you're going to have a fun time tonight, because it's going to be basically just the YouTube critics stream again, essentially. Okay, let's get started with this. So we have a weird, a very strange-looking, not Mary Sue-ish image. This looks more like something out of a crude horror novel.
Power level was as high as could be.
So Dragon Ball Z. Okay, Star Wars. Okay, so apparently we're combining DBZ, Disney, and Star Wars.
Every show Mary Sue was...
So Mulan. So you cut to Mulan. We mentioned shows. That's a little odd. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. Jar got no bars and no bitches. That's fair enough.
Then the old...
Okay, hang on. So that was Starfire. The Starfire comic, I'm Not Starfire. Okay, interesting. She-Hulk. Interesting.
Fans were sure to go.
What is that? Is that Captain Marvel? I can't really tell from that screenshot. It's a really bad one. I think it's Captain Marvel.
Away, because it was terrible.
Okay, so we got Star Wars, Disney live action, Marvel. So again, just Disney. This is just a Disney video. Already pretty obvious. Now, I think of all of these, the one that you can make the best argument that they're Mary Sue-ish is Mulan from the live action film. Because, you know, she does master this unique trait that only no one else can really harness. She's kind of doesn't have too many apparent flaws. Her character is altered significantly. I probably won't have too many criticisms to have. Oh wait, my camera's why is my camera the opposite direction? Good point, actually. Let me move my camera around. That's right. It was because of the. Right, my camera is reversed only because. Actually, you know what? Let me try fixing that up. Okay, so that's just gonna be a little. So my let me fix it up 1 second. Looks like there was a reverse here that was messed up. Okay, how long is this camera again? Oh, that's right. It's over that way again. That's why. It was a little wider than usual. But, okay. You know what? We'll work with this for right now. It's okay for now. So, what I'll probably end up doing is reversing these if I'm going to do that. But it's not a big deal. Yeah, my camera's a little wonky. Sorry about that, guys. But that being said... Probably making people very confused, actually. I'm thinking about it. And I'm thinking with the camera too much. It's going to be a little too much to fix right now. So let's keep going. Okay, you are not... So Jar, you are not a Transformer.
So, I used to talk about Mary Sue's a lot on my channel. Why there are too many nowadays, how Disney has too many of them, what a Mary Sue is, and even more. And it seems like modern day writers are just doubling down over and over again.
Wait a second. How's Indiana Jones a Mary Sue? That's a strange. Well, I mean, Indiana Jones makes sense, but like, it's interesting. You don't really see that criticism applied to Indiana Jones too often, because by all accounts, Indiana Jones is a wish fulfilling character. He is able to overcome insurmountable odds on a regular basis. It is a little Mary Sue-ish on paper, but people don't really apply that to him so much because he's a guy, and guys don't typically get saddled with the Mary Sue quality. Even though that is the Gary Stew, but it's usually a very female-focused criticism. DS Dude, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Ant, found you from the Pokemon vid. One thing I hate is how Mary Sue went from meaning overly perfect character to character I don't like. 100%. It is very common how often it's applied to characters you just don't care for, and it's a little absurd. And yet, Jar is now declaring war on Indy. So, let's keep going with that. Let's see where this goes.
Even when it seems impossible to do so, people first voice their problems with Captain Marvel, but not that much. The MCU...
Not that much? Have you forgotten the massive hate campaign that Captain Marvel got? Like, Rotten Tomatoes had to restructure how they weighted reviews just because of the hate campaign Captain Marvel got. I was working on... I was still writing for CBR at the time. That's when actually around the time I started with CBR, actually. And I remember all of the news articles that came in, all the news information that came in, that we had to write and had to respond to, whatever, and you know, kind of, report on about all these different. There was a campaign done by a charity organization that was basically buying tickets for young girls who were orphans to see Captain Marvel, and the campaign, if I recall, was being like heckled and harassed by just online trolls. It was ridiculous. Like, this isn't even like a subtle lie. Me boy. there you go, Crimson. There you go, Crim. I see you there. You're not slick there, Crim. I spell you in chat. Yeah, so I used to work at CBR. This was back a while ago. I've mentioned it a few times. It's a whole thing. But, no, we got tons of articles about, we wrote tons of articles, responded to tons of articles, and all this kind of stuff about the Captain Marvel campaign. It was really ridiculous.
Was still going strong, and it was only one bad movie. At first, we ignored the Mary Sue-ness of Rey in The Force Awakens, but then it happened. The Last Jedi reared its disfigured face, and we could no longer hold our tongues. We all...
The Last Jedi came out before Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel came out after The Last Jedi. It wasn't the other way around. This camera's actually driving me a little crazy. I'm gonna fix this camera real quick. This is driving me a little nuts. So while I'm talking, I'll just say this. Yeah, so Captain Marvel came out... There we go. That's better. Cool. Excellent. Now we're talking. So Captain Marvel came out after Last Jedi. Apparently, Jar has forgotten how time works and has not Google checked that this movie came out about 2 years, I think, before the... Yeah, because it would have been over a year and a half before The Last Jedi came out. So they're really... He's not remembering it all that well, which is a little funny because that's when he got big on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, Rey also struggled with every single fight that she had. And in The Last Jedi... She doesn't win a single fight in the whole movie. Rey does not win a single fight in the entire Last Jedi, if you think about it. Like, she fights Luke to a standstill, and Luke is unarmed, essentially, and just sort of, using the Force, which he's been mostly disconnected from at that point, which isn't really much of a victory. She gets thrown around like a rag doll by Snoke. She has to rely on Kylo Ren to save her from Snoke. Then she and Kylo Ren fight the Praetorian Guard, essentially. And then, at the end of it all she does is move some rocks to save the the Resistance from Kylo Ren as he is held off by Luke Skywalker. At no point does Rey have that great victory that Jar is implying that she does. All right, so... Lizzie Shiro, thank you for super chat. Is the we in the room with us? Yeah, right? Is it? I don't know. The guy 493. Jesus Christ, these people are still pissed about The Last Jedi. I mean, I didn't like it either, but holy crap. Yeah, this video came out. What year did this come out? This came out July 23rd, 2023. So it's not like recent. This is a bit of an older video, but still. Did I read Jar's channel description? No, I did not. If you like videos that bashes Disney and also talks about drama, then you've come to the right place. Oh, God. What was he even talking about recently? Illymation. That's a depressing topic right there to create argument. Nothing in 4 months. Okay, that's good. Anyway, so let's keep going.
Felt a great disturbance in the force, and millions of voices refused to be silenced. And honestly, after all my Mary Sue videos, I thought I said all I needed to say.
I wish millions of voices couldn't be silenced has an annoying looking anime girl representing the millions of voices. Yeah.
But I found out that they are getting even worse. A lot of writers, actors, and a large majority of the mainstream media like to parrot this narrative that the massive flops that keep happening.
Wait, Doolittle? Is it Doolittle? What does Doolittle have to do with Mary Sue's? It's a recent Mary Sue story. It's a very old book it was based on, but I digress. That's, I don't think, ever been done well, because the book's not that good. Dr. Doolittle is kind of goofy. It's not a very good book. Hot take. Maybe we should stop adapting Dr. Doolittle, because it's not very good. I don't know. Hot take.
Happening over and over in the film industry are due to some sexist incel gamers proud that they've turned in.
Is this guy allergic to not peeking his mic? Yeah, it is. He is.
To their big bad boogeyman, and due to these supposed authorities making such claims.
Wait, hang on. What are the authorities here? CNN, The Wall Street Journal, MSNBC, Yahoo News, Drudge Report, Reuters, Fox News, CBS, USA Today, NBC Sports. That really has a lot of impact in the film industry, I know. Newsmax, the San Francisco Chronicle, Bloomberg, Mashable, Time, TV Newser. Never even heard of that one. All Facebook. So at least he agrees Facebook's in charge of everything secretly. Consumer Reports, Sporting News, the Daily News, because the Daily News has such an impact on Hollywood. Like, what? Politico? Reuters? Slate? Did you really look through this? Did you look at the... Did you really think about what you were saying when you said that Reuters was in charge of Hollywood? Hey, Chloe. Howdy. Back to jargon. Yeah, we have to do Mary Sue research, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, Dane's on here. Hey, how's it going? Jard got chased off YouTube for trying to goon a gooner. Yeah. Oh, I know. User225, thanks for super chat. I have another Lily Orchard joke in the chamber. Oh, I'm sure it's going to be very funny when you unleash that. But yeah, no. So, already a bit messy here, but let's see what he's going to pull out. Let's see what he has in store.
It caused a lot of people to take this point of view on face value. And
it's funny, Jar, is that, for someone who's so against the LGBTQIA community, you sure do like using girls as your avatar. Listen, Jar, listen. I know we have our differences, but worst case scenario, if you feel, that maybe, I'm not going to make that joke, but you get what I'm going towards. Terminal Sanity. Thank you for the super chat. I think of this subject in terms of what I call the Superman trap, because many writers of Superman fall into it to the detriment of many stories. Namely, when what the character does/can do subsumes who the character is. Yeah, that's a fair point. A lot of writers do sometimes do that, where the power set becomes more spectacular than the character itself. I'll give you an example. I was just finishing up the What If series on Disney Plus recently. And what ended up happening is, I didn't like it all that much. I didn't think What If was, I thought season 3 was like its weakest season for the most part, especially the ending. But what bothered me was at the end of the story, it all just became, the entire last episode was just a big, long, drawn-out fight scene. And for like a series finale about like possibility, having like a pale imitation of a Dragon Ball Z fight was just the most underwhelming way to end that series. And there were some good episodes this season, but like, I just thought it was a bad ending. Anyway, but I digress. That's a good point. Let's keep going.
And basically just repeat the same arguments that the mainstream media came up with. But the worst was yet to come.
Interesting place to stop. I don't want to think about Jar and that word. I'm going to click away now because this is upsetting me.
Hey, butthead. What, Beavis?
What?
Char said come. That was cool.
This is a lame joke. It's not even a good joke. Like, here's the thing. You layered it up and layered it up already. It's pretty bad.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Why'd you write it then?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey, Professor Dreadlock, did you have something you wanted to show me?
Yes, but put on this Viking outfit.
But what? User 225 thanks for the chat. I'll be moving to New York City this spring and plan on attending Anime New York City. Super excited. Any chance I'll see you there? Can fans say hi if they see you IRL? Yeah, if fans see me IRL, as long as I'm not like at a con and not like getting groceries, that's totally fine. But I would probably end up. I think I'm gonna go to Anime New York City potentially. Who knows? Nick Wolf, thanks for the chat. Yeah, but all seasons of What If ended like that. Yeah, but not as badly as this one. This was pretty bad. I thought this is pretty not good. Anyway, let's keep going.
Well, I got an email from an acting company, and they said that they wanted us to be in a movie. It takes place
Oh,
in
it's a
fantasy
sponsor.
world full of pillaging, raid.
Exist anymore. But Raid Shadow Legends is still up and kicking on both mobile and desktop
Are
versions.
you serious?
Both with regular
This is a
content
real
update.
ad?
I feel like every single YouTuber I know about has. Soon, more characters started getting the Mary Sue transformation, like live-action Mulan. After all, it's what the modern audience wants, right? But
Well, no, Mulan was tailor-suited for Chinese audiences. Only thing is they didn't like it either.
I'm sure you already know about all of this. So, how have Mary Sue's gotten even worse? Let's try to visualize this. Firstly, there's been a growing trend where no woman could be saved by a man. In modern
Okay, let's analyze that for a second. So no woman can be saved by a man. So in Spider-Man No Way Home, when MJ tumbles from the building and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saves her, that's an example right there of a damsel in distress, right? Isn't it? I'd say so. What's another example off the top of my head? There were some Fast and Furious movies that had damsels in distress, I'd say. The, no examples. Let me think of some more. There was, I think Stranger Things probably had some stuff like that. I would say probably a bunch of them. I have to think about it a little more. But, like, that was pretty quick. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There was, I guess The Northman kind of has that to an extent of saving a woman trying to be, a woman in distress. And don't use facts and logic. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of names at this point. Anyway.
movies.
Ray, exactly. Hell, in this movie alone, this series, Ray gets saved by Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. There we go. Blue Baron, thank you for super chat. How old has modern audiences been used? So annoying. Yeah, it's been a while. It's every single year there's another modern audiences discussion because it's always used. User 225, thank you for super chat. Lily Orchard doesn't need either or elixir. She just stares at Gardevoir to restore her PP. That was terrible. Okay, cool.
Or TV shows. They're always hyper competent, and no matter what they do or how evil they are, they can and will be redeemed. Or at the
Okay, so characters who have not been redeemed. That's a good question too. Villains who have not been redeemed. Ursula has not been redeemed on film in any version. Especially women. Let's focus on female villains. I think. Let me think. Off the top of my head. There's some obvious ones I'm not thinking about. I mean, actually, you know what's funny? I'm trying to think of examples of around 2023, 2022, 2021. Jack Horner, of course, but I don't think that came out this time. I think this was a little after this. The villains from Stranger Things, I don't think have been redeemed. Red Skull, never redeemed. Let me think who else. There's a few others too. Hell, actually, no, Disney. Let's use Disney as a few examples. In Falcon Winter Soldier, there was never a redemption for the Power Broker. Never got redeemed there. Lady Tremaine, a good point, in any version of Cinderella has never been redeemed. Talia al Ghul dies horribly in a terrible death. That's a good point, too. Azula, never redeemed either. Ursula and her crazy sister. Cruella de Vil had, like, the Cruella movie, so I guess Jar would count that. I was going to say also, even in Marvel, there was no redemption arc for the bad guys in She-Hulk, So there's an example. Moon Knight, same thing. The villains in Ms. Marvel didn't get redemption. The villain in The Marvels also directly avoided a redemption arc, so there you go. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. Maybe it's because I recently developed brain rot for Lupin the Third, but I just see these sad people and to look at me in the eye and tell me that Fujiko Mine / Faye Valentine are Sues, so I can laugh at them. If they said Faye Valentine was... Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you, Krim. Madame Morrible from Wicked does not get a redemption arc at all. In fact, I think she's the only one who doesn't get a redemption arc in that whole story. At least the musical version, anyway. But Mother Gothel definitely does not get a redemption arc. The coachman from Pinocchio doesn't get a redemption arc. A lot of characters don't get redemption arcs. And that's not even getting into adult fiction, Yeah, anyone who played Baldur's Gate 3, skinless lady, what's her name? I'm trying to blank on her name, who has no skin, who's the daughter of Baal. Spoilers for Baldur's Gate 3. She really doesn't get redemption arc at all, which is great. Anyway, I can keep going and going.
At the very least be the second most evil in comparison to someone else, typically a man. Let's start with She-Hulk. The show starts with her cousin Bruce wearing a...
Wait, weren't we just looking at Mulan? Why are we going to She-Hulk? Let's do Mulan first. Okay.
Device that keeps him in his human form. But why? Well, it's so...
Because he's the Hulk.
She can be the one to save him. When she's at a bar, she's helped by a group of women and catcalled by a group of men who harass her and
Okay, that's just a typical experience of women. They get catcalled. That's nothing too unusual right now.
might have done something to her.
Okay, so right there, like, Jar's making it more sexual than it already was, but I digress.
If she chose not to transform. She also tells the Hulk that she has much better control over her anger than him. Why?
Yeah, because he has bad control over his anger. Listen, Jar, I'm not sure you noticed this, but no other Hulk has the same problem that Bruce has when it comes to controlling his anger. No other Hulk person in the comics or in the films has the same problems with controlling the Hulk form that Bruce does. Adrian Parchman, thank you for the sticker. That's a really cool sticker. I love it.
You might ask. Well, it's because she experiences first world problems. Yep, first world...
No, that's not why. It's because she has to control her anger. It's because she's learned to control her anger in natural experience. First world has nothing to do with it. These problems exist in any country.
Problems trump being dehumanized by the entirety of society for something you couldn't control. She also doesn't really seem to get any flack for not considering other people's feelings. One scene that really
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What's this for here? Hey, what 3 factors in the character backstory personality do you think should disqualify them from redemption from a moral perspective? That's a tough one to answer. I'd say if you commit sexual assault, that's usually pretty bad. Like, there's no redemption if you're that terrible. I think it depends on if you actually want to be forgiven, if you're actually trying to make amends for your actions, and if you are actually making the effort to improve yourself. Those 3 factors are very important. If you're missing any of those 3, the redemption falls flat. For example, I don't think that Darth Vader really redeems himself. I think Darth Vader sacrificed himself for a good cause, but that's not the same as redemption, truly. Like, he did one good thing for his son after decades of cruelty. That's not really a redemption. That's kind of realizing that you're too far gone, but trying to do one last good thing in your life, which is not quite the same thing as a full redemption arc. That's a whole discussion right there. Anyway, let's keep going.
Sticks out was when one of her friends asked her to not transform at her wedding. Later on in the episode, she does that to fight some villain named Titania, and her friend for some reason is ecstatic to see her transform. And because
she's also drunk in this scene. That's a factor that kind of changes things.
Because of all of these convincing reasons, anyone who doesn't like her is an evil troll man baby, or some other insult that a bunch of rich entitled elites want to plaster onto everyone who disagrees with them. And the writer's big smoking gun they try to use to fix all of this is, well, she breaks the fourth wall.
Wait, that's from the comics, though. Like, she always has broken the fourth wall. It's always been a thing that She-Hulk has done, so I don't understand what the point, how there's any influence on what we're talking about here. Also, Jen transforming was something she did not want to do. So it's like, yeah, this isn't exactly something that she wanted to do. She didn't want to transform. She didn't want to get into a fight. So the whole thing is very bizarre. He's acting like her friend being drunk and giggling at something absurd is somehow not faithful or not logical. I don't follow. And none of this has anything to do with being a Mary Sue. Anyway, a couple super chats. Angels Art and Gaming, thank you for super chat. As someone who used to get catcalled so frequently I got used to it, his quote-unquote first world problems, quote, just made me livid. Oh yeah, 100%. It's ridiculous. It's, it genuinely feels like he doesn't really seem to acknowledge that people go through life experiences that help train them emotionally. It's not superhuman to learn how to need to control your emotions for your own survival. That's just living, that's life experience. That's not a superpower. That's just the experiences you have in your day-to-day life. But at this point, nothing we've seen so far indicates that this is a Mary Sue. That's why I'm confused so far. What Mary Sue qualities does She-Hulk exhibit? At this point, nothing that you've described fits what traditionally is seen as Mary Sue. And let's keep in mind, what are some Mary Sue traits? I'm going to bring up a Mary Sue TV tropes. Give me a second here. Here we go. Common Mary Sue traits. Let me bring this up. So, using TV tropes may be a little cringe, I know, but let's play the thought experiment to its end. So, looking at this, Mary Sue tropes. So personality-wise, usually Mary Sues don't have a personality, right? Usually a Mary Sue, characters tend to react more positively to the Mary Sue character, right? So typically, the Mary Sue is worshipped by her peers or what have you. The Mary Sue is very persuasive, convinces people to their side very easily without having to put much effort into it. A friend to all living things. Well, that's not Jen Waters at all, so. So she's incorruptible. Jen gets angry. Can't be that. She has a dark and troubled past. Well, actually, that's the opposite of that. She does not have a dark and troubled past. That's kind of what makes her so interesting. So, I digress. Anyway, very basic stuff. Nothing too strange so far. Personality-wise, nothing. Since you've only talked about personality so far, there's nothing about her personality that indicates she's a Mary Sue yet. So, I digress.
That's right. When she doesn't like the lemons she's been given, she just breaks the fourth wall and just changes everything to suit her needs. So as
yeah, because it's funny. It's a funny gag.
Powerful as Wanda is, someone who took out an alternate version of Captain Marvel and a ton of other powerful superheroes, She-Hulk is still leaps and bounds above her when it comes to power, because she can...
That's not true, though. They fight pretty even in terms of power level. The only difference there is that the ending's a gag, which happens from the comics. That's kind of a thing that her comic counterpart has too. So I don't really understand. I don't think that's really so much a power thing. It's more like it's pushing the way the direction of the universe is going. It's just a joke, ultimately. It's a comedy. It's meant to be silly. It's not meant to be like taken too seriously.
Literally rewrite reality. She can take away Wanda's powers if she wanted to, among other things.
Well, no, she's limited by what she can persuade Kevin, the creator of the MCU, the AI that runs everything, which, very limited. Basically, all that it changes are a few small little details to make the ending a little more focused on herself rather than setting up some other show. That's the gag of the ending. The gag of the ending is that they want to avert the Marvel TV show ending where they throw all these cameos and explosive stuffs in at the end. Just focus on the characters and that's about it. That's all. Which is more a meta joke at Marvel's expense than anything else.
It's the closest thing to the one above all out of all of the characters the MCU has. Say what you will about Captain Marvel, but she never rewrote reality to get what she wants. We were given the worst ending I have ever seen ever, just because the writers wanted a self-insert for women in power.
So let's look again at what actually she accomplishes there. All she does is, like, this is really ridiculous. So the problem here is that Jar is looking at, like, again, mentioned before, and I see Crim in the comments saying this too, Watsonian versus Doyleist explanations of storytelling. So Watsonian is, why in the logic of this universe does a thing happen? Doyleist is, why did the writer or the creative decide for this to happen in this way? So what's happening here is that Jar is setting up a Watsonian discussion, saying, okay, here is what She-Hulk does in the movie. Here's how it messes up the Marvel continuity, whatever. Okay. But then his explanation is Doyleist. But the Doyleist explanation is very, very specific and kind of prescriptive. He ultimately assumes it's because of women, when it's more about kind of meta-commentary on fandom and culture. What was so interesting about She-Hulk, I thought, was how the show really predicted its own response pretty accurately. The writers were very wisely able to figure out what the reaction to She-Hulk was going to be, and the big bads, the intelligentsia characters, remember the names correctly, they form a representation of the negative fan reaction to the show. Like with everything with She-Hulk, it's a very meta-cognitive kind of series. It's very reflective on the relationship fans and audiences have with Marvel properties. Is the show perfect? Oh, by no means. I think it's all right. She-Hulk was a very all right show. I enjoyed it when it was out, but I didn't really think much of it afterwards. But undeniably so, the show had a real meta sense of humor, and a lot of it was poking fun not only at the audience, but also at Marvel themselves. Everyone got poked a little bit. Not seriously hit by the comedy, but poked a little bit. To take it too seriously when it ultimately doesn't really reflect on too much of the actual narrative that you can do in the context of the show, little wonky, I think. Roxas, real, not fake. Thank you, Super Chat. Still mad about the Luigi ranking. Have fun, though. It's fair enough. I'll take it. For Omega, thank you for Super Chat. Not about quality, but I wish She-Hulk ended with a courtroom scene and her calling Kevin to the stand to argue for making her story her own, with the actual MCU actors as themselves to the jury. That would have been really funny. You see, that would have been really clever. I wish that was the case, too. Like, She-Hulk should have ended in a courtroom. I do agree with you on that. The fact it ended in like a brawl scene was kind of weird, because She-Hulk, the comic, is ultimately a courtroom story. So it would have been better that way, I think. Anyway.
Were meant. I've done a full review of this show if you want more info. But up next, we have Wendy from Peter Pan and Wendy, or just Wendy as I like to call
Now,
it.
see, I've never seen this movie, so I have no strong opinions whatsoever. Are we okay if I just skip this? I have no opinion on this movie. I can't offer any insightful commentary. Let's watch it and see what she says.
Making She-Hulk, Rey, Captain Marvel, and even Mulan into a Mary Sue is one god-awful thing, but making Wendy into one is on a whole nother level.
Why is that? Why is that, Jar? Let's keep watching.
At least the other women have powers or know how to fight. Wendy, other than learning to fly, is just about as normal as they come. Butthead, Jar said come again.
No. Get out.
Please make a
In
point,
the original
Jar.
Disney movie, she's kind, motherly even, but she also knows when to put her foot down, even if she is a bit of a damsel in distress. But someone at the writing department who probably spends more time
Okay, so right now he's saying a bunch of disconnected things. Let's see what he has to say, though.
on fanfiction.net than doing their actual job, said to themselves, I can fix her by making her into a badass sword fighter and have her say the line, this power belongs to no boy! She breaks a mirror as she sword fights with her brothers, then shifts the blame onto them when her parents ask her about it. Like, even in Robot...
So like a girl, like any young girl would do. You know, no kid's gonna take responsibility for smashing a window. Obviously. User225, thanks Super Chat. Mary Sue is a poison term at this point. I look for author's pets. Those actually get on my nerves when the author has a clear fave character. Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I agree with you on that one. WC Witt, thank you for Super Chat. Peter Pan 2003 beat Peter Pan and Wendy to the punch, if these are his complaints about it. Yeah, a lot of versions of Peter Pan make Wendy into a more action-packed character. So, I don't really... Is his complaint that Wendy sword fights? Like, that's it? That's his big complaint, that Wendy knows how to swing a sword? Like, it's all fencing anyway. It's not like any of this is, like, super realistic, so who cares?
Culture, that's considered a dick move.
She's a child. Kids break things. They blame other people for it. Have you ever worked with kids? Well, actually, I hope you didn't, because of your interests with the certain other person, but I digress.
This is also basically the only interaction we see with her and her brothers, which
Yeah, okay.
heavily implies that she was this shitty as a kid on average. Anyways, because
Yeah, the Disney also Peter Pan is an adaptation. I see Krim mentioning that. That's a fair point. But like, it just seems weird that this is a movie that you're really picking a big fight over. Like, it's not like Peter Pan's like, whatever. Who cares about Peter Pan? But I actually, people love Peter Pan. I shouldn't say that. I like Peter Pan, but like, Peter Pan is not like a series where, or a story or a saga where, this kind of thing really equate. Kid only has sword fight. It's not a big deal. Shav's Media Production. Thank you, Super Chat. Ever consider writing? Let's connect if so. Oh yeah, I'm actually, I have a book that I actually just finished the last draft for. I'm looking for cover artists, and hopefully I'll have more to tell you about it within the next couple of months. So look forward to that. It's coming soon, my book. Let's keep going.
of her play fighting with her brothers, she's able to take up martial arts and become a competent fighter.
That's not from the movie though, but okay.
Lol, I'm just messing with you. She doesn't do any formal training, but those play fights.
Oh, formal training. You expect her to train with the masters of fencing? Of swinging a sword around? Like, this isn't like, none of the characters in Peter Pan are particularly great swordsmen. I'm just putting it out there right now. Gavin Carrot, thank you, Super Chat. I like Peter Pan and Wendy. I think it's probably the only good Disney live-action remake. The characters might be an improvement over the OG, aside from Hook, even. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I've never seen this movie. I can't speak to about it. But, like, these aren't exactly, like, none of these characters are particularly great swordsmen. So, I digress. No one's formally trained.
With her siblings somehow give her the skills to take on battle-hardened pirates that are 2 times...
Battle-hardened pirates, they fight kids. Captain Hook's big enemy is a child. Captain Hook is regularly subdued by a bunch of kids. We're not talking about, like, master swordsmen here. We're talking about a guy who regularly loses to a boy. Oh my goodness. User 225, thanks for chat. Are there Discords communities for creative writers? Oh, there's tons. There's tons. Yeah, no, this is ridiculous. Are you? This is really the thing that you're like, you're grinding your heels about over Mulan. Mulan, yeah, there's an argument to be made with Mulan. Mulan's a messy movie, but like, Captain Hook is not an impressive bad guy. Like, he's a fun bad guy. I love Captain Hook, but like, he's not scary.
Times bigger than her. She puts herself in comical, dangerous situations.
But she did that in the original Disney film too. Like, she put herself in those situations there as well. So
she doesn't have the training to handle, and is never saved once. In fact, she's the one to save Peter Pan. The line about how this power belongs to no boy is cringier than people die when they are killed. 6 times over. It made me cringe so hard I couldn't even laugh at it.
You know what's worse, Jar? Trying to apply swordsman rules to Peter Pan. A story about kids who are just cool. I don't know. I think you might be taking Peter Pan too seriously, my dude. And there's many versions of Peter Pan where Wendy's a badass. That's just a common thing. So, I don't have to tell you.
First, when a line is so bad it's even hard to make fun of, you know it's got to be a bad line. So
what'd you think about the line in Lord of the Rings where the Witch King says, "No man can kill me," and then she takes off the helmet and goes, "I am no man," and then stabs him in the face. What do you think of that one? You like that line? Or how Macbeth, where Macbeth says, "No man born of woman can kill me," and then it's like, "Well, I was born from a C-section, so fuck you, I guess." Like, come on, dude, this is ridiculous.
I saw someone try to compare.
Also, watch an adult movie, Jar, like a movie for grown-ups. Maybe you might find it better when you're watching media not geared towards the youngest demographic.
This to a line from Return of the King. The thing
there we
is, the
go.
writer Tolkien did not make that line to make himself look super woke. And Mary also helped her by stabbing the Lich King in the back. It's also kind of up in the air if she was the one to kill him or not. Did the Lich King...
No, she did. She killed him. That's not up in the air. That was him. Also, that was her. Also, bullshit, Jar. Tolkien did write it to have a woman take advantage of that. He wrote it in reference to Macbeth, Jar, where, you know, the joke was in Macbeth. In case you don't know, Macbeth is told by the three witches that no man born of woman can kill him. So Tolkien took that and went, wouldn't it be funny if a woman killed Macbeth instead? And that's the point of it. So by your definition, super woke means taking something established and putting a woman in it, right? That's what Tolkien did. Yeah, granted it was done for as a literary gag, but like even so. And I love how Jar is trying to talk Tolkien as if he understands what's going on here. It's debatable with if she beat the Witch King. No bullshit, man.
mean that no one with a dick could put him 6 feet under?
No, Jar. That's what it says. Yeah, no, none can beat him. That's what it said.
Or was he referring to man as in humans?
Nope, just men. Blue Baron, thank you for Super Chat. How will the weirdos whine about LA live action Lilo and Stitch? Oh, they'll probably find something.
Mary was a hobbit, not a human. As far as I know, aside from the one ring in the 3 elven rings, it's not really confirmed what the power of the other 16 rings are. So
did you fucking read the books, Jar? The rings don't really have powers. They bind people to Sauron. The Nazgul were the men who took the ring bearers who were men who took the rings, who desired power, and that resulted in their souls being corrupted. This is like this. Jar, please stop talking about Lord of the Rings. Please stop talking about Lord of the Rings. You don't know what you're talking about. Please just read the books. Oh, hell, watch the movie. You watch movies, that didn't help you too much, so can't really help you there. Like, they're all they're not power items, Jar. They're traps to bind people to Sauron. Any gifts that they get from that ring, it's a boon from Sauron, because Sauron poured himself into the rings. Like this isn't like, it's not like they give you powers, Jar. It's not like an amulet that gives you abilities. It's Sauron's essence. Oh my god. The fact that you're asking what powers the ring grants you, you're already fucking it up. You've already screwed up. You've already lost. You've lost the plot already. Sorry. Spaycheck, thank you for Super Chat. Bold of you to assume these people read. Yeah, that's a fair point. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. Jar mad at Wendy for milquetoast reasons, but this version of Hook was a lost boy who wanted to leave and find his mother. And that's why Pete cuts off his friend's hand in the 2023 film. Oh, so he's a kid too. None of them have formal training. Not a single person in that movie had formal training. So why does Jar make a big deal about it? Oh my goodness.
So I don't know if that whole line about no man can kill me was referring to his ring's power or not.
They have no powers, you idiot. Okay, stop. Calm down. You're not you and you're hungry. Drink some tea.
Also, even if Tolkien was trying to be woke, and she was the one to kill the Lich King, then it's still not as cringe as, this power belongs to no boy! By the way,
It's a reference to Macbeth, you dumbass.
Hey, the Lich King dying is how I looked when I heard that line. Tinkerbell never backstabs Peter, and even Tiger Lily is a badass. Other than Wendy's mother.
What's wrong with characters being cool? Like, Jar, let me ask you genuinely, what's wrong with characters being badass in a reinterpretation if a story has been adapted hundreds of times? Really, what's wrong with it, Jar? What's wrong with these characters having any competency or role in the plot? Edgar Allan Ho, I love that name. Thank you for the super chat. Why did so many channels spend so much time defending this guy for being terrible when he was terrible the whole time? I have no idea. Quite frankly, it's a mystery to me as well, because he's not that good at media criticism. He's not saying anything all that clever. It's just really bad. Did he misstereotype Tiger Lily? Oh, probably. This thing, what's wrong with characters being cool in the narrative? Like, there was a version of The Wizard of Oz back in the day. I was on the Sci-Fi Channel, Tin Man, I think it was, right? Was it called Tin Man? It was like a cool reinterpretation of Wizard of Oz that really reinterpreted it as like this big fantasy adventure. And nothing wrong with that, just a cool story. You look at Wicked, that completely reinterpreted the Wizard of Oz story, and was very successful and popular. Okay, I'll stop myself now. But no, that's another example right there of a story where, you just put characters in, you give them some initiative, you give them some drive in the plot, and you do something cool with it. And that's cool, it's fun. There's no reason why to act like Tiger Lily having a role in the story is somehow breaking the story. Plus, what the fuck does any of this have to do with being a Mary Sue? Like, Wendy saying a cringe line once, getting into a sword fight with a guy who grew up as a lost boy, and characters on the side having a role in the narrative. That's all that he has. None of those are particularly Mary Sue qualities. It's not exceptional that Wendy can swing a sword. It's just not.
Mother, every woman in this show has to kick ass and touch grass. Oh, and I also guess the nameless lost boys who weren't all boys, even though this story was originally a coming-of-age story for boys. Also really...
It's coming age of... okay. Jar, who's the main character of Peter Pan? Spoiler alert, it's not Peter Pan. Who grows up at the end of the story? Spoiler alert, it's not Peter Pan either. It's Wendy. The story is Peter Pan and Wendy. Peter Pan is the character who's very interesting and dynamic, sure, but it's Wendy's story even back then. Who is introduced first, Peter Pan or Wendy? The first bit of the story, it's Wendy. Wendy is the one who goes to Neverland. Wendy is the one who goes on the adventure. It's not Peter Pan. Even then, Wendy captures Peter Pan's shadow. So without Wendy, none of the plot can happen. Oh my god. Like this isn't like, what are you even on there, dude?
They didn't do anything. I've reviewed this movie in my The Downfall of Disney Remakes video. I'll link it down below if you want to learn more about this movie. Also, yes, Disney live-action remakes used to pull in a lot more money than they do now. So please, stop commenting.
When Peter Pan and Wendy went straight to Disney Plus, so it wasn't going to make any money ever, but I digress.
About the title. And finally, I just got done reviewing all of The Witcher Blood Origins. It's the worst thing I have ever reviewed yet, until my big Star Wars video is...
Wait, these are the worst things you've reviewed? This is the worst thing you reviewed? So when I was still writing for CBR, we watched a movie called, Verotica, which is a movie by Charles Danson. Charles Danson? I think that's his name. Anyway. No, I'm messing it up. Not Charles Danson. What's his name? Crud. Famous guy. Verotica. Who's Verotica? I'm gonna... Danzig. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, Glenn Danzig, not Chuck Danzig. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Verotica is vastly worse than anything you've ever seen in your life, if this is as bad as it gets. Not Charles Manson. Glenn Danzig. Yeah, Glenn Danzig. Yeah. It's very big in the music scene. So anyway, the point is, unless you've seen Verotica, Witcher ain't cutting it.
done. Our main character, the Lark, is a badass woman who will save the Waldo. Her and the other guy get locked up, but she's too cool for the rules and Locke picks her way out.
So wait, she gets locked up and Locke picks her way out, which is a thing that just about every single fantasy protagonist has done. Lockpicking. That apparently is too extreme for this. Baichi Epiodera, thank you for the super chat. I see we are back to this crazy. Mary Sue has lost all its bite as a term because it just now is a term for female characters I don't like now. Exactly. It's ridiculous. Adrian Parchment, thank you for the super chat. What is this feeling so bitter and sad? Tajar. There we go.
Other than her swordmaster, who is also a woman, by the way, no one else stands a chance in a duel with her. Oh.
So wait a second. So the fact that she's formally trained now, Wendy wasn't formally trained. Now you have a formally trained swordsman who's only bested by her master, and that's too much for you, apparently.
So she is the mother of the most important character in all of the Witcher lore. Out of the 7 members in the group, 4 of which are women, only the men die. Sure, I guess Brother Des survives despite having his face smashed in, but I still think it was a last-minute change. Also, did I forget to mention, he got his face smashed in! The princess is supposedly saved by a man, but he just gave her a knife, and she did all the heavy lifting herself. Also,
Angels Art and Gaming, I'm so glad someone said this. Lockpicking. Sorry, Jill Valentine. You're a Sue. Maybe you can use these as the master of unlocking. I'm going to make so many Jill sandwich jokes now. It's not even funny. DS Dude, thank you for super chat. I unlocked the door when I was 10 using a safety knife. Am I Mary Sue? Yes. Yes, you are. I'm sorry that you had to find out, but you are, in fact, a Mary Sue. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. There are only 3 good live-action Disney remakes post-2010s. Cinderella, Jungle Book, and Pete's Dragon. Also, only saw Maleficent 1, but it was interesting at least. That's fair. I will agree with you definitely on 2 of those. I have not seen Pete's Dragon, but Cinderella was pretty solid. And Jungle Book was pretty good too. I heard good things about the Aladdin remake, but I didn't actually watch it, so I can't speak to that one.
I just realized this, but she's the only woman who dies in the entire show, on screen at least. Now the princess may be a villain in the show, who isn't redeemed, but she's only the second worst.
Wait, so you literally started this video saying all these female villains have to have a redemption arc, and then the only example of a female villain you include does not have a redemption arc. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. Can we change Mary Sue to Jill Sandwich? You were almost a Jill Sandwich. Yeah, exactly.
Because clearly the mage just had to be put in to be an even worse villain than her. Because he has testicles. Hell,
What does any of that have to do with being a Mary Sue, Jar? You described characters who were trained formally at swords play and were good at swords. Okay. Unlocked a door once, and a couple characters didn't die in a show. Who are the main characters? That's your whole argument. That doesn't make. How does any of that make them a Mary Sue? You can say it's boring, which I've heard it is. I've not seen this Witcher series specifically because I heard it was bad. So I didn't bother watching it. But like, none of that is particularly Mary Sue-ish. You have an explanation as to why she's a good swords fighter. She picks a lock, which is something that any human being can do if you know what you're doing. Like, what's Sue-ish about this? None of these examples are Mary Sue's yet. She-Hulk wasn't a Mary Sue. Wendy wasn't a Mary Sue. The girls in the Witcher spinoff weren't Mary Sue's. Who else is there? She-Hulk, this. Yeah, but they've gotten so much worse apparently. Oh, Indiana Jones now. We're gonna get to the goddaughter, I think, right? Who's slick with her hands and a bit of a sneaky fella. But it's Indiana Jones. All the characters are like ridiculously able to survive insurmountable odds. That's part of the fun. So it's not particularly special. Baichi Epiodera, thank you for super chat. Also, most people who complain about Mary Sue's don't understand the trope or its origin. Again, Star Trek brings us blights with its goodness. Exactly.
Indiana Jones gets shown up in his own movie by his goddaughter. Take out the word daughter because she might as well be God.
No, she isn't. She's a very flawed character who Indiana Jones works against as a conflict, essentially.
perfect at everything and is the one to save him. You know, the
In one scene, yes, she does save him. But then he also saves her. So I digress.
guy who survived a nuclear explosion by going into a fridge as if he was leftover ham or something. The same guy who also, by the way, in Temple of Doom, survived jumping out of an airplane by using a raft. This
Jar, let me ask you a quick question, Indiana Jones. What's the key difference between Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom and the Crystal Skull? Jar, there's something about Indy that's a little different in the Dial of Destiny versus those two films. What does it have to do with time? You have to answer this question in time, Jar. But you may ascertain that Indiana Jones is old as shit in this movie. Like, he's much older. He's old now. Yeah, he's not going to be as athletic as he was when he was in his 30s because he's old. He's worn down by life. Yeah, maybe Indiana Jones when he was in his prime would be massively more OP than her. But even still, he still does a lot of incredible stuff, including figure out an impossible puzzle that no one else could solve. Like, Indiana Jones is very old. He's in his 80s, and he's, like, exhausted.
This guy of all people has to be saved because he has a PP by someone who doesn't have a PP. Because it's the current year. Even the Mandalorian is moving perspective from...
But it's not... What are you talking about, Jar? Indy was saved multiple times by women in the past. Or have you forgotten Indiana Jones 1, Indiana Jones 3, Indiana Jones 4, where it's not all just Indiana Jones saving people, it's other people saving Indiana Jones as well. Like, it's ridiculous. Come on.
Being about a man because the mouse needs it to be about a woman. Also, an Ahsoka trailer just dropped as I was scripting this part. We have evil men like this Sith, and...
Not a Sith. He is a fallen Jedi who also beats Ahsoka in a fight. In fact, Ahsoka never beats him in a fight at all. In fact, Ahsoka dies fighting him. So, maybe just watch a show first before making a decision about its plot. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. You honestly are going to complain about a side character when Short Round exits, who drove a car and has his own fight scene. You could argue far more... yeah, exactly. So Short Round, exactly. So Short Round is obviously a young child who saves Indiana Jones in Temple of Doom. That's way more ridiculous than a master thief who's lived a hard life of crime saving Indiana Jones in one scene. Neo, thank you for Super Chat. I would have lured to couldn't Jill sandwich as its own term for women who are often accused of being a Mary Sue for being skilled. Yeah, that's a great idea for a skill. Yeah, let's call that right now. So a Jill sandwich is whenever someone's accused of being a Mary Sue but isn't, as the master of unlocking. And again, The Mandalorian introduced characters who had been established in Star Wars, like Bo-Katan. I think it's Bo-Katan, that's her name. She trained under Darth Maul. She fought as part of Death Watch. So she's a very well-established character. Also, why does Jar not know who Bo-Katan is? I hope I'm not messing up her name. Bo-Katan, right? Because I feel like it'd be really embarrassing if we keep saying Bo-Katan and I'm like, yeah, it's Bo-Katan. Yeah, Bo-Katan. So Bo-Katan's an established character in Star Wars, like really well-established. So, anyway, there you go. Baichi Epiodera, thank you for Super Chat. Ahsoka was able to beat him through actor death. Oh, God. That's terrible. Apparently, they're going to recast it from what I heard, but it's going to be rough. Yeah, I don't think he's a Star Wars fan.
Thrawn, a fan-favorite villain. You can tell they're bad guys because they pee as they stand up. We have female characters from the cartoons like Green Woman, Teen Femdalorian, and more. Girls...
These are widely loved characters by the fandom, Jar. These aren't like... And these are characters who went through struggles, who did face adversity. The problem is Jar's reacting every time a woman does anything and acting like, oh, Mary Sue. Oh, there's a woman doing something. It's Mary Sue. These are characters who have objectives, goals, difficulties they overcome. And quite frankly, you can argue Sabine is in part responsible to a degree for Bo-Katan's struggles in The Mandalorian. By handing off the Darksaber to her, Bo-Katan received it in an unfair match. You know, she didn't fight to get it. And so if you follow the lore of Mandalore, that kind of indicates that maybe Mandalore fell because bad luck. Bad luck granted because of Sabine giving it to Bo-Katan. But I digress. Anyone who can piss while they stand up is not a coward. Yeah, exactly.
Shooting, doing cool things with lightsabers, and of course Ahsoka saying,
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him.
"No, you walked away from the Jedi Order because they tried to execute you." Another
Jar, that's what just happened. You just showed him walking. You just showed her walking away from Anakin. Who cares about the semantics? It's the same effect at the end of the day. Oh my goodness. Tomonomo Khan, thank you for the super chat. Jar is a fake fan confirmed. Yeah, seems that way. Annie Nerd, thank you for the super chat. What would be considered the opposite of Mary Sue's? Any character. Any character at all. You know what's the opposite of a Mary Sue? Shinji Ikari. There we go. That's the anti-Mary Sue. Like, that counts as walking away from Anakin, dude. Yeah, she walked away from the Jedi Order and Anakin. So, there you go.
girl power line that, if I had an organic brain, would kill more brain cells in me than...
How is saying I never finished my training because I left Anakin a girl power line? Explain it to me, Jar. How is that a girl power line? Baichi Epiodera, thank you for super chat. Fun fact, girls are capable of peeing standing up. That is information I was aware of, but I'm glad we all clarified that today. that is a thing. Shinji Ikari's my favorite girl. There we go.
Joe Biden's ice cream clearly does to him. By the way, yes, I do have a human brain, but it's been mechanized. I came up with a term for lines like this. I call it cat whistling. It's the left-wing version of dog whistling, but it's more...
There is no left-wing version of dog whistling. Dog whistling is dog whistling on both sides.
So in your face all the time, everywhere. Now there is one Sith who is a woman, but I'm going to take a wild guess.
Let's see if you're right, Jar.
That she's going to be redeemed.
Wrong. Never redeemed at all. So that one failed right there, didn't it? Also, she's not a Sith. She's a Jedi.
Just like that one Sith girl from Kenobi. I love that because...
Also not a Sith. That's an Inquisitor and a Jedi Padawan. Not a Sith. Siths are a very specific thing, Jar.
Because her friends were all killed, and she was also almost killed, she joined the dark side and was like, "Can I join you guys because it looked really based and red lightsaber pilled?"
No, it's because she wanted to kill Darth Vader. She joined the dark side to get close to Vader so when the proper time came, she could stab him in the back. This is basic character motivation. And when she did get to Vader to stab him in the back, she lost very quickly. She was set up to fail because Vader figured it out immediately. So, like, that's the opposite of a Mary Sue also. She had this plan that looked successful. It looked like she was winning. But in actuality, she was always going to lose. Vader knew from the beginning what her plan was. So all of the things we thought were victories for her were actually steps to her ultimate failure. So, Jar, did you even watch the Obi-Wan show? It's not complicated.
Also, yes, I know they aren't Sith because of the rule of two.
Okay.
They are just Dark Jedi, aka Inquisitors. So please don't tell me in the comments.
Jar, maybe we know when we tell you in the comments if you didn't say they were Sith. Maybe just don't call them Sith. How about that?
Because every main character woman, along with a few side female characters, who all have to be as badass as much as possible, men are doing less and less.
Oh yeah, like how I forgot how in The Mandalorian, how Din Djarin doesn't do anything in the whole film, whole series. That wasn't a thing that ever happened. And it's not like, you know, the whole series of Ahsoka ends with a man beating Ahsoka multiple times. This is fucking ridiculous, man. So basically, Jar's definition of a Mary Sue is when women do something, it Mary Sue, because man not do something. This is such whining.
Even Nick Fury isn't safe from this in Secret Invasion.
Okay, Secret Invasion sucked though, so I'm not going to count that as I'm not going to defend that show.
He just gets talked down to like he's a toddler who just shat on the rug and doesn't know any better. And
That's not the problem with Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion sucked because everything about it sucked.
that's just one out of many examples I have of this plague that has swept across the media.
Wait, that's all you had to say about Secret Invasion? That's it? That's the only thing? Of all the things you've talked about, the one thing that actually I would agree with you is terrible, that's you brush it over. You spent more time reacting to a trailer for Ahsoka and got almost everything you said wrong. But the show that was actually terrible, you're just kind of like going to gloss that one right over, huh?
Whenever I see a modern day movie or show, and a woman is the main character, then I feel no tension at all because I know she's going to be good at everything. Won't need
How about Nosferatu? Have you seen Nosferatu yet, Jar?
to be saved, and won't have to make any kind of sacrifice for the greater good or to get what she wants. I'm going off script for this point, but do you guys remember that?
You had a script? You on a script this whole time? This is you with a script? Oh, God.
That movie Terminator Dark Fate.
Oh,
Yet
God.
another one of these movies that tried to capture the magic of Terminator 2, and of course failed. But unlike all of those previous failures, this one tries to have a woke plot twist. The film is like, guys, you see this woman right here? Just like in the first one, we need to protect her because she's going to be the mother of the savior of humanity. And then later on, they're like, ha ha, we tricked you. She's not the mother of the savior. She's actually the savior herself. Bet you boys didn't see that coming! Yeah.
So, hang on. Okay, let's hear what he has to say, because I want to see how he explains his character as Mary Sue.
I felt nothing at this reveal. Everyone in the world saw it coming. It's not really a unique plot twist when every other movie and show is already doing it. Well, maybe you should watch other movies and shows.
Wait, so that's the only point that you felt nothing from this plot twist because you've seen something like it before? That's stupid. That's dumb. That's really dumb. That's not really bad writing if you predicted something because other shows did something similar. You have to look at it from like the actual narrative. Does it make sense in the narrative? And in this case, yeah, made sense. It's just time travel. So, whatever. She would become the savior by being hardened through experience. Yeah, that's not too unusual. Like, just watch a fucking other movie, man.
You enjoy instead.
Yeah.
I already do. Top Gun Maverick and Across the Spider-Verse are movies I enjoy, along with a lot of other people. That's why they are so successful.
Oh, God,
I know
only
people who
halfway
don't
through.
like me think I'm a part of a small sexist minority of people. But then, how do you explain the fact that the type of movies I'm complaining about are making less and less money?
Because all movies are making less and less money. The box office has not recovered since COVID. It still hasn't. And for that matter, a lot of movies just aren't successful because they're not well made. You're arguing, yeah, sexism is why, but like maybe the movies just aren't good for other reasons. Anyway, Shaola X Ninja, thank you for the chat. Jar only watches clips of shows rather than watching and analyzing the full series. He doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. Yeah, it seems that way. Adrian Parchment, thank you, super chat. Watch another video, please. I enjoy your suffering. Oh, God. Yeah, I hear you there. Oh, no. Wait, this is ending thoughts? What? There's more? Okay, let's see what you have to say, Jar, on writing.
Spider-Verse had a black main character and a pregnant Spider-Woman, but it wasn't pushed in your face so much that it ruined the movie. Why are...
Jar, Spider-Verse is more overtly about demographics and diversity. It's all about that topic. Way more so. Did you just miss the point of Spider-Verse? Also, 2023, these two movies were just out that summer. You're saying that movies you like were the ones that were currently airing in theaters as you made this video. Nick Wolf, thanks for the chat. Not to give grifters like Jar credit, but Boba Fett just sat in his butt so much that Ming-Na Wen and others to do his work for him. Though that might be because Mando did Boba's shit dick better. Yeah, and also the Boba Fett show just wasn't good. It just wasn't a good show. I did not like the Boba Fett series at all. Just was not that good. But like, Jar, your go-to examples for media that were successful are the two biggest successes of the summer you made this video. And by the way, you made this video in the summer. So they were just in the theaters at that moment. You were pointing to two successful films and going, these two films are the good stuff. These are the good ones right now. Because they were in the theaters, you probably left while writing the script. Hell, you probably saw Top Gun Maverick while writing the script. All right. Neon, thank you for Super Chat. Wherever the main character is a woman, I know it's going to suck because she's already going to be skilled. Yeah, because the most fun part of John Wick is watching him lose, right? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, exactly. So you're going to watch the main character in an action film get his or her butt kicked? Okay. Seems like a weird movie, but if that's what you want to watch. The Guy, 493, thanks for chat. I kind of feel bad for Tamora Morrison since he clearly wants to do more with Boba than Disney let him. Yeah. The Boba Fett show is very disappointing, I think, for a lot of reasons. I was not a fan of it at all. In fact, I kind of hated it. I kind of hate currently it. It's terrible. But it has nothing to do with feminism. It has all to do with the show just not being well written or well paced or well structured or have a focus.
Are people calling Rey a Mary Sue but not Miles Morales? Are sexism and racism some kind of kryptonite for one another and they don't overlap? Are people
Jar, what are you talking about?
just sexist and not racist? Or could it be the obvious fact that he's a good character?
Jar, what are you talking about? The movie is... I'm not going to bother with that nonsense because that didn't make any point whatsoever there. User225, thanks for Super Chat. He calls himself Jar because he puts dolls in them. Fair enough. The problem there... Okay, so I'm trying to disentangle what you just said. So you're trying to say that racism and sexism are kryptonite for each other. The problem, Jar, is that people did criticize Miles Morales for years. They did argue that Miles Morales was terrible for years. They've been calling Miles Morales woke since 2011. The difference is that the first film was such a success and so good that the minority of people who were always racist and always loudly racist were drowned out by the overwhelming waves of popularity. A movie like Captain Marvel wasn't good enough necessarily to get the audience against the sexists, so that became the loud voice that was responding to the whole movie. Captain Marvel is not a great movie, unfortunately. But Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, those are great movies. Darmitan, thank you for Super Chat. Darmitan, thank you for Super Chat. Finally caught you on stream. As a Jar hater from day one, I'm so happy people start calling his horrible and dangerous opinions. Also, try not to get drunk on this one. Well, that's because I'm not going to get drunk on this because I'm drinking Lady Grey tea. For right now, anyway.
I know is that the woke virus will eventually leave these franchises and move on to another host. We still
the woke virus. Okay, buddy.
Have some good, strong female characters even now, so hope isn't gone just yet. I understand that women in old shows and movies didn't exactly have the best roles, but we have gone too hard in the opposite direction.
Women had no role whatsoever, so giving them any competency is too much. We can't give them too much competency. Yeah, exactly. So Crimson Ender just said in the chat right here, women, people of color, and LGBTQ people are not allowed to be mediocre. We always have to be spectacular. Yeah. So the problem here is, unless the character reaches the zenith of perfection, people like Jar are going to act like they're terrible. They can't be just mediocre. We can't have a bad Arnold Schwarzenegger film, or a mediocre one at that. We have to have the perfect. You know, everything has to be Terminator. You can't have a Conan the Destroyer. Great Bar, thank you for Super Chat. He was never called a Gary Stu. Must have been before Across the Spider-Verse, because everyone moaned he'd be able to escape all the Spider-Mans. Yeah, exactly. So that's the big thing too. People going, how can you escape all those Spider-Men? I don't get it. He's too powerful. He's stronger than Peter Parker. I don't get it. Again, this is kind of ridiculous because Jar is like acting as though a woman... Okay, so let's look at what he says going too far in the opposite direction. A girl swinging a sword is too far. A girl lockpicking is too far. A girl having control over her emotions is too far. And what was the other one? Ahsoka existing is too far. Ridiculous.
Remember, two wrongs don't make a right. Shows,
What's-
movies, and other things will get worse and worse, but I'll be here to suffer through it, so you guys
No, you won't, because you'll be kicked off the internet for being a sex pest, but I digress.
don't have to. Anyways, stay tuned till after the credits for some bonus content about how to do Mary Sue's the right way, and if Bella Swan from Twilight is or isn't a Mary Sue.
God.
Guys, those videos cost a lot of money to make. I will keep on listing them and upload a new Mary Sue video with them in it until I break even. Hey guys, so before we move on to the credits and get to the stuff after the credits,
Wait a second, did he re-upload his own content to extend the lifespan of this video? Is that what he did? Did he write a whole video and then just staple old videos to the back of this? Oh my god, that's so lazy.
I just wanted to give a shout out to my editor, Kaiser Triggers.
He did! He literally just stapled two old videos to the end of his main video. He just stapled the two extra videos to the end of his previous video. Oh my god. Also, he had no examples of Mary Sue's in that whole Mary Sue video. He had a girl who can swing a sword, a girl who was not even the master of unlocking like Jill Valentine, but just like could pick a lock. He had Ahsoka, who had not appeared in her own show yet, and this is fucking ridiculous. Oh my god. I was at least hoping for some content. This is absurd. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. Jar just wants women to breast boobily, nothing more. Apparently so. Angels Art and Gaming, thank you for super chat. Big Ahsoka stan here. My god, she doesn't even win in her own show because she's going up against Thrawn, aka Star Wars Sun Tzu. Exactly. Like in Ahsoka, Thrawn wins. Like not even Balin wins. The bad guys in the first season of Ahsoka don't just win. It's almost a total victory. They have no ambiguity. They win. So there you go. Okay, so there is still more here. I don't care about Bella Swan. That's a whole other discussion right there. And I don't expect Jar to actually understand Twilight, especially in, like, what is this? A whole video in, like, 5 minutes? No. I really want to see what Jar's opinions on fixing a Mary Sue are. That one looks more interesting, so let's skip ahead to that. Also, these are just re-uploads of old videos he did. He just stapled 2 extra videos to increase the runtime of his short, meandering, mediocre video. But I digress. Let's keep going.
I'm going to be talking about how you can make a Mary Sue character that people will actually like. Now I'm going to create my own original OC Mary Sue.
Oh, this is going to be entertaining.
Right here, right now. They are a female. They are perfect in just about every way. All the characters love them. They are one of the most powerful characters in their verse, if not the most powerful. And they sometimes...
Why does everyone say Rey's so powerful? Rey is like the weakest of the 3 Star Wars protagonists by a substantial amount. Like, she's even with Kylo Ren, right? That's the canon of the sequel trilogy, right? And Rey says that Kylo Ren's nowhere near as powerful as Darth Vader. So, like, she's not the most powerful entity in the universe. She's actually fairly low on the scale of Jedi. Also, yeah, so...
do terrible things that the other characters just seem to ignore. So far, this doesn't seem like...
Like what? Like what she do? Think about it. Jar, you're being creative here. Tell us what she does. What she specifically, Jar?
such a good character, and it sounds like a lot of people won't like them. But I just have to do 2 things. Well, technically 3, but I can pick between 2 of them, and it will completely fix the character.
Will it,
Number
Jar?
1, don't make them the main character. And number 2, make them either a villain or a mentor. I already
Jar, you literally complained about that in the last video. You were complaining about the girl from Terminator Dark Fate, who's a side character, not the main character, becomes the mentor for the android girl who's sent back in time. So, literally, you were talking about that exact character from Terminator Dark Fate, and you said that was bad before. You're not even consistent with your own logic here. Also, Jar, what does any of this have to do with anything? If she's the, like, this is ridiculous. Like, those aren't exactly going to fix any actual character qualities. They're just going to shift the character to a different location. It's not going to actually fix anything.
I went over this in my last video, but the villain Sue is one of the best Sues.
Wait. I'm sorry. Are you saying Griffith is a villain Sue? Griffith, who is imprisoned for months and starved because he couldn't control himself when his facade of perfection was interrupted. Griffith, that Griffith, who starts from the bottom, has to work his way up, only to destroy it himself, but due to his own arrogance. Griffith? You're calling Griffith a Mary Sue? Griffith. Brianna, thank you for the super chat. In my redemption arc writing style, the cut off to being irredeemable is refusing to change. 100% agree with that. Refusing to change is what ultimately divides you between a redemption arc and not. Yeah, I hear you there. Griffith. I'm still caught up on Griffith, though. I think if you're saying Griffith is a Mary Sue, you fundamentally misunderstand what Griffith is.
People love a good villain. They don't care how powerful they are.
Yes, they do care, actually. People were complaining about Aizen being broken when Bleach was in its final... when the Aizen arc was wrapping up.
Gives the hero something to overcome. So if you want to make a Mary Sue character, make sure they're evil and diabolical. You can...
Oh my, okay, whatever.
It makes them somewhat sympathetic if you want, but it doesn't matter how powerful or perfect you make them, because 99.9% of the time, the villain is supposed to be overcome and defeated by the hero. But
Jar, you literally wasted the entire start of this video complaining about villains being too perfect. You're literally saying, do one thing, and then when you get that thing, you're complaining about it.
But even then, sometimes villain Sues can have their own issues to them, like Madara Uchiha. He was just too powerful and too perfect. He went toe-to-toe with the first Hokage, who has big tree muscles. Even characters with...
What's wrong with that? What specifically is bad about that? Madara isn't even the most powerful villain that they fight in Naruto.
Just a few of his cells become Jonin. Madara got his own super form merging with the World Tree, created the Infinite Tsukuyomi to mind control the entire planet, and he just out of nowhere gets defeated by Kaguya because the writer couldn't figure out a way for the heroes to defeat him. So yes, even a villain Sue can be written terribly, but the only Sue that's easier to...
Jar, did you consider maybe the problem with Madara and by extension most of Naruto is that most of it isn't well written? Hot take, I know, but I digress.
Right, then the villain Sue is the mentor Sue. You're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck does a...
Wait, you're using All Might as a Mary Sue character? All Might, who starts the series extremely injured, who struggles to maintain his power, who is literally dying from an injury the whole time, not dying, but like physically like broken by an injury the whole time, who fears his own defeat and death. Like, oh my god. Jar, do you listen to yourself ever? Do you ever listen to that? Okay.
Mentor and Mary Sue have in common. Believe it or not, it's a lot more than you might think. The main mentors I'll be focusing on are the ones from anime, because I'm trash. Look at characters like Master Roshi.
Master Roshi's not a Mary... Master Roshi is a gag character. He's a joke, initially. He's a guy who spends 50 years mastering the Kamehameha only for Goku to do it in seconds after seeing it once. He's a character who blows up the moon. He's a character who is a pervert who is motivated by reading like smut magazines. Okay. He's not even like that good a fighter. Ultimately, he's powerful in Dragon Ball, yeah, but Goku surpasses him, and then they keep going further. Okay.
And yes, I know in Z he was by far not even close to being one of the strongest characters in the verse, but in original Dragon Ball when Goku first met him, he was the strongest in the world. He could blow up a mountain, or the fucking moon, and no other character.
Yes, Roshi, when you first encountered Roshi, was powerful. But power doesn't make you a Mary Sue, it just makes you powerful. That's not what being a Mary Sue is. By no definition is Roshi perfect. Other characters who are much weaker than Roshi slap him around, like Bulma. Actually, Bulma might be more powerful than everyone else, because he can tame Vegeta, but I digress. Darmaton, thank you for Super Chat. Mary Sue this, Mary Sue that. Why don't you get married to that groomer you love so much, Jar? I swear my dog is a Mary Sue at this point. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, totally. You're correct. You hit the ball in the head right there.
Character in original Dragon Ball even came close to doing something that cool.
Piccolo came close to doing something that cool. Because he's stronger than Roshi and killed Roshi.
Master Roshi regularly sexually assaults women, along with a whole bunch of old mentor characters. In real life, if an old man sexually assaulted a young girl, he would probably get called out, go to jail, maybe get sued. A lot of bad things could happen. Just like the character.
Mr. Thank you for Super Chat. Losing my mind. All he cares about is power scaling. Yeah, that's all this is to him. Which is ridiculous when you consider that his main of being pissed off at a girl for being a Mary Sue was her being able to lockpick. Apparently, lockpicking is too high a power scale. Great Bar, thank you for Super Chat. So his thought process is the Mary Sue should be an overpowered, broken character villain. How would that fix the problem? They would still be called a Mary Sue. Yeah, exactly. Nick, here's the thing. Great Bar, here's the problem. You're applying too much thought and logic here. There is none. That's not logical. That is logical, therefore it can't be what Jar's talking about. Blue Bow, thank you for Super Chat. Jar better keep Toshinori Yagi's name out of his mouth. You know it's coming.
Characters from Invincible ignored the terrible actions of Amber. Every anime character ignores that their mentor is sexually assaulting teenage girls repeatedly. At least give Jiraiya credit, he mostly went after
Jar, what was it again that you got canceled for again? What was that again? I'm drawing a blank in my memory. What it was that got you in so much hot water before? I can't place my finger on it. I guess it's a mystery. We'll never figure it out.
Of age women, except for that time he had Naruto use his sexy jutsu so he could check out the young body of a 12-year-old girl. You know, now that I'm an adult looking back on this, it's a hell of a lot more creepy than I remember.
If only your older version of yourself also thought that was creepy, but I digress.
It's awful.
And also, Jiraiya is one of the 3 legendary Sannin. He ranks with the 5th Hokage and Orochimaru. But what about old mentor characters who aren't complete?
But Jar, if he ranks alongside them, he's not the most powerful figure in the universe. In fact, even they're much lower than many other characters in the story.
Pervs. Like Netero or Genkai. They are
Don't you dare mention Genkai. Don't you fuck... Listen, Jar, don't you fucking mention Genkai, alright? Let's keep going.
both strong old mentor characters who are the strongest humans in their verse.
Take Genkai's name out of your mouth.
You say, what about Yusuke? Well, he was part demon, so it doesn't really count.
What about Kuwabara?
Whoa there, Mr. Gay
there we go.
Man. You're gonna talk
God.
about Urameshi, but not my boy Kuwabara, when he can split dimensions with his sword? You can suck on my sword.
Okay, I'm actually glad you made that joke. That was kind of funny. Nick Wolf, thank you, Super Chat. I could have made an April Fool's vid on Arale from Dr. Slump, Lum from Urusei Yatsura, and Sakura Kimimoto for being utterly blatant Mary Sue's. Yeah, you probably could have. Especially Arale, because she is actually broken by the laws of the world, which is kind of the point of her character, but I digress. Opal Crescent, thank you for super chat. Mary Sue's are hyperbolic stand-ins that serve as fantasy for the author. None of the characters listed even match his description of a Mary Sue. Yeah, because what was his description again at the beginning of this video? Let's go back to that. It was...
Now I'm gonna create my own original
what was
OC
his,
Mary
let's hear it
Sue
again.
right here, right now. They are a female. They are perfect in just about every way. All the characters love them. They are one of the most powerful characters in their verse, if not the most powerful. And they sometimes do terrible things that the other characters just seem to ignore. So far, this doesn't...
Okay, so let's take a look right here. Female. Aside from Genkai, every single character he described was male. Every single example of a Mary Sue that's fixed by his definition, except for Genkai, was male. And even then, with Genkai's not the strongest character in the universe, doesn't do terrible things but is forgiven by her peers, isn't perfect at all, quite frankly, is certainly not perfect. So even by all of these... actually, Haruhi Suzumiya would probably be the best example if you wanted to do that. Yeah, Haruhi Suzumiya. By his definitions, Haruhi Suzumiya is a Mary Sue, which, granted, that might be the joke of the whole series.
We hate them in the same way we hate other Mary Sue characters. Well, the answer is actually uses a spell that would greatly decrease his lifespan, and he was already an old man, so it was guaranteed to kill him, and he somehow survived. But what about old mentor characters outside of anime, like Gandalf or Dumbledore, also known as Gandalf the Gay? What do all these
what's the joke about that?
mentor characters have in common? Well, they're all really old, that's true, but they're also really powerful and seemingly perfect, so why...
Okay, listen. So in Harry Potter, Dumbledore sides with Grindelwald. Grindelwald is basically, until the Fantastic Beasts movies, a stand-in for the Nazis. How then, Jar, is Dumbledore perfect if he aligned himself with that kind of character? I don't like giving J.K. Rowling too much credit, but like right there, not a very flawless character. Gavin Carrot, thank you for the chat. This man gives great shame to the power scaling community. He is like the stereotype people who hate the community think we all are, only caring about how strong someone is over their writing. Yeah, and that's gotta suck for you all. I'm not gonna lie. He seems like an embarrassment to power scaling, if that's the reputation trying to fight, but this guy tries to make himself front and center on that. And I have nothing against power scaling. I think power scaling is interesting. It's not a thing I personally care all that much about myself, but it's fun to engage in sometimes. Adrian Parchment, thank you for super chat. Saitama and Mob, Psycho 100. Yeah, exactly. Great characters right there.
Why don't we hate them in the same way we hate other Mary Sue characters? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. You see, the biggest factor to being a Mary Sue is when the universe revolves around them, also being granted a whole bunch of power without working for it. All mentor characters have worked very hard.
Wait a second, but you complained about a character who trained to be a swordsman, knowing how to use swords! Oh my god, Jar, Jar, you complain about someone being not even a master of unlocking, just a slightly competent user of unlocking skills. You see, here's the problem with everything Jar says. It wouldn't be so bad if he wasn't so self-contradictory in his own video. Because, yeah, I know, there's time to pass between 2 points. I know, there's an old video he stapled onto the end of a new one. But the problem is, Jar, that you put it here. Therefore, we have to treat this like it aligns with your perspective.
Sometimes harder.
Yeah, and why do you have Mr. Miyagi there? Mr. Miyagi's just there.
Than any other character in the verse to get to the power level that they have now. Well, everybody except for Gandalf. Yes, if you actually read the books, you would know that he's not actually an old man. That's just a disguise. Old mentor...
Well, Jar, you clearly didn't read the books either because you don't know what the fucking rings do. You think the rings give you power and don't bind you to Sauron's will. What? Okay, Jar. What is Gandalf? How would you explain to me what Gandalf is? He's not an old... If you've read the books, you know he's not an old man. Okay. What is he then? Explain this concept to me, Jar. Can you, though? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Mentor characters are almost always destined to be surpassed. Now, there are a few mentor characters who never seem to be surpassed, like Mr. Miyagi, but Master Roshi got surpassed, Jiraiya got surpassed, and even Fumbledore got surpassed. That's what keeps
No, he didn't. He just died. He didn't get surpassed. He just died. No one surpasses him in the concept in the story.
villain Sues and old mentor Sues from being actual Mary Sues, because they're destined to be defeated or surpassed. And that's why if you create a Mary Sue character but still want to keep them, make them a mentor or the villain. Can you think of your own way to make a Mary Sue character work? Tell me in the comments section.
Oh my god. Finvo, thank you for Super Chat. This is what happens when your frame of references are children cartoons and anime. You see everything from power scaling point of views. Yeah, exactly. If Jar just experienced actual media that was good, imagine Jar applying this logic to fucking Dune. Oh, Muad'Dib, if you power scale him up, he's not that much of a Mary. Come on, man. The big sandworm, Duke Leto II, his power scaling is off the charts. He's a villain. Get out of here, man. This is ridiculous. Ugh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this cup of tea, and I'm going to use the bathroom for a bit, then get on to the next video, because this is going a little ridiculous. What did we learn here? What do we learn from Jar? That he has no idea how power scaling works, is inconsistent with the definition of Mary Sue is, and I'm relatively certain that he has no idea what's going on with any of this, but I digress. Blue Bow, thank you for Super Chat. Reading ability does not equal reading comprehension, I guess. That's something we learned, certainly. Okay, so I'll be right back after finishing this cup of tea, and then we're going to continue with Literature Devil. So Lady Grey tea is actually it's not a brand, it's a type of tea. It's kind of like Earl Grey. A little milder, a little sweeter. It's a little more citrusy. It's not bad. Okay, so I'm going to be right back. I'm going to allow you all to look at this image of Zelda. Meanwhile, any super chats that you leave right now, I'll read when I return. And I shall be right back. No one's left. I'm back. I have returned. I'm sure a few people have left, but that's okay. That's all right. I can't expect everyone to be beholden to me as they're waiting for me. Okay. I had to say farewell to my lovely spouse because I had to go back and stare at people on the internet again. So let me get my head back on. Okay, let me check if I missed any super chats. Anything that might have happened while I was out. It's Wes. Thank you for super chat. Jar would see a woman pull off a raging demon in Street Fighter and call her a Mary Sue for it. Undeniably so. Mr. Solo's son, thank you for super chat. Anthony, what are your thoughts on the mysterious Mr. Emter? And would you make a video on him someday? I actually almost did make a video on him once. I almost did. I didn't choose to switch it. I didn't choose to for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. But no, I'll probably might in the future. Crimson Enter. You should play music while you're while you're out BRB. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I should have done that, but I didn't. But my apologies. You got to stare at Zelda and all that for a bit. Anthony, are you an alcoholic? No, I'm not. This is the only drink I've had this entire week, so I don't really particularly need I don't particularly like alcohol that much. I do like one drink, that's okay, but after that, I don't enjoy it. Honestly, like as I've gotten older, I've actually liked alcohol less and less and less. Like, I like whiskey just fine, but that's why I only have the one drink. It's totally fine. Angels Art and Gaming, thank you for super chat. Back to, I found a shiny Stantler. Oh, nice. That's awesome, actually. Love that. There you go. No, I hear you, Krim. I hear you. I'm just messing with you. Okay, so the guy, thank you for super chat. Zelda Link is peak. I hear you there. Okay, so let's sorry for the dead air, everyone. I'm back now, but let's just jump right into the next one. Because the other video we had is actually a lot more successful. So, the Literature Devil is by no means better than Jar by any means. But take a look at this. The video we saw had about 100,000 views. But the Literature Devil, his entire thing is obsessed with... There's a comic skate guy. He had made 2 videos... with this one has 2.2 million views. This video titled "Why Are So Many SJW Characters Mary Sues?" That would make it the most widely watched video we've ever reacted to. Let's watch.
What exactly is a Mary?
I was worried for a second that the video had no sound because I'm like, where's the noise? He had like 3 seconds of dead air. And it looked like it was deliberate because he posed. Yeah, maybe the video was just delayed. Who knows? Anyway, let's keep going.
Mary Sue. No, it's not that.
It's not what? Yeah, I know. Krim, as our resident demon, are you a little disappointed by this Literature Devil? Looking like Sunderman? Looking like the Enderman in a suit? Anyway, let's keep going.
Ever since social justice decided to disgrace the stage with its terrible everything, the term Mary Sue has become a common critique of SJW characters.
No, Mary Sue predates the word SJW. It goes back to the 70s, actually, and has nothing to do with social justice at all. It has all to do with wish fulfillment. But keep going. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let's see what he has to say. You will go 1v1 in this guy. Yeah, I hear you there.
And sexist. Why might that be? Well, your standard Mary Sue typically possesses traits like being loved by everyone regardless of how they act. Anyone who actually does dislike them is evil. They're always right. Anyone who disagrees with them is always wrong. Their comebacks are always considered clever and witty. They're smarter than everyone, faster than everyone, and more powerful than everyone. They're the best at anything they do, even if they've never tried it before. They don't have flaws, or if they do, it's something small like being clumsy, or the opposite like being too pretty. Yes, that's real. Any of them.
Okay, so that's, again, describing fanfiction characters. Very few actual characters in fiction fit all those descriptions, especially fiction you've heard about. Meow Neon, thank you for super chat. It is weirdly hypocritical to criticize certain characters for being Mary Sue's and then immediately worship hyper-competent power fantasies like Batman, James Bond, and any Marine/SEAL character. 100%. That's the big hypocrisy of this whole thing. So many Mary Sue characters, quote-unquote Mary Sue characters, are ultimately just reflections of their male counterparts. But the male counterparts aren't called Mary Sue's. You know, it's something that Jar actually touched upon, where he said, like, oh, people don't call Miles Morales a Mary Sue. Well, yeah, they do, actually. You just didn't hear it, because they're just a small minority of people. It's less acceptable to say that about a male character. But someone like, say, what do you call it? Someone like, say, Superman is often called too perfect. Way more than, like, Ray. They have way more qualities than Ray that make him Mary Sue-ish, but I digress. I know Literature Devil has a video about that too. We might get to that if we have enough time, but I digress. We'll keep going for now.
That's starting to sound eerily familiar. You see this a lot in fan fiction, probably because the natural habitat of the Mary Sue is fan fiction. This likely stems from an author wanting to place themselves in the world of their favorite series.
Why do you have that as your description of a fan fiction author? It's actually just already you're using imagery to dehumanize them already, and it's ridiculous. Also, Steven Universe being an interesting choice to say that's the character you want to self-insert into, but again, you're saying it in a way that immediately demeans people who write fan fiction and these shows that you don't like. It's very clear already where you stand on all of this, and it makes you a very clearly biased perspective. But I digress. Maybe I'm just misreading it. We'll find out.
But not their real selves, with all the nasty human elements. Their ideal selves. The one with the great hair, the perfect look.
Is that Ivanka Trump? Not Ivanka Trump. Whatever her name is. That's the ideal self. Blonde, white.
And the existent social skills. In 1974, a brilliant parody of your standard Mary Sue story was written by Paula Smith in her fan fiction masterpiece, A Trekkie's Tale, also known as the story that originated the term Mary Sue. The 70s was the decade when fan-written works were starting to hit mainstream popularity. There were even fan magazines.
Okay, mainstream popularity is a stretch, my guy. They weren't mainstream. They had mailing lists in the hundreds. Mainstream is really stretching it. This stuff wouldn't become mainstream until it was widely available for consumption. These were limited runs of magazines. And I know people who've archived these. In fact, one project I'm working on right now involves some of the archival of this material. Well, I'll get to that later in the month. But you know, this is like, we're talking like very small runs of material. Already, you're wrong. Mainstream popularity. When you say fan magazines, these aren't like in the newsstand magazines. These are like you got on a mailing list and a person printed them out in there with a printer they knew kind of magazines. Like very small runs. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. The thing about playing devil's advocate is that you're literally advocating the devil. Please, Ant, watch OSP's Sue vid after this vid. Yeah, I'm very tempted to. Yeah, also, you know, Crim, you're right, actually. You know, Literature Devil, do you look like that in real life? Is that not your ideal self? So why making fun of other people for making idealized versions of themselves when you yourself are doing just that? You see, I don't do that with myself. I show you my face directly because it's easier to edit. So laziness on my part, I suppose. And B, if you're going to dish it out, my guy, you better take it. I can take it. I know you've responded to some of my stuff in the past. I've seen it. But can you take it? Let's find out.
Where such works could be published. And at the time, one of the most popular shows to write fan fiction about was the original Star Trek. Paula Smith's story was published in one such fanzine called Menagerie. A Trekkie's Tale stars a 15-year-old Lieutenant Mary Sue, making her a ludicrously young, super talented genius. Everyone loves her, so she gets to play hard to get with the most famous men in the Federation. She's half Vulcan, and by the end, she not only saves Kirk and Spock from certain doom, but single-handedly saves the entire Enterprise. And of course, she dies tragically, so everyone can not only mourn her passing, but lament on what terrible a loss her death really was. But it was all.
And that was a parody of stories that had already been popularized in the Star Trek fandom at that time. That narrative is itself meta commentary on the Star Trek fan community. Anyway.
All just silly fan fiction until we got Wesley Crusher, who fans hated. And then
Okay, Wesley, I'll grant you. Wesley was rough.
unfortunately, who never died via bayonet stabbing. Basically, the simple mainstream definition is a character who is too perfect. But being powerful, liked, and good at things are more like indicators than actual evidence that the character you're looking at is a Mary Sue. After all, we have characters like Superman, who's loved by the people, talented, and absurdly powerful even by superhero standards, but is still one of the 3 banner characters for DC Comics.
Well, the problem there is, what's the conflict? I'm exaggerating with the Wesley thing. I'm not big on Wesley. I think he's but I think the hate for Wesley's a little bit blown, but I do get you. Yeah. But point is, Superman is not always defined by his strength. He's defined by what he has to overcome. The problem is, again, much like with Superman, much like with all these other characters, the conflict isn't always physical. It's not power scaling. It's the emotional struggle. Superman's big struggle is he deals with emotional problems and societal problems. For all the power in the world, you can't just punch your way out of that. And his villains figure out ways to exploit Superman's weaknesses to beat him. His weakness to kryptonite is a major factor. Also, he's an alien. And in later works, they really emphasized how Clark has to compromise his alien nature with living on Earth. He's not defined by he has great power, undeniably so. And he's defined by that power to an extent. That he is faster than a locomotive, can jump a building over a single bound, what have you. But his conflicts come from issues that you can't just punch your way out of. That's what makes it interesting. You can't change a society by punching it. Because Superman doesn't want to use his power in an abusive way. Yes, he's powerful, but it's how that power functions in the narrative that makes it interesting.
So, that leaves us with the question, if Superman, a character whose superpower is to have all the powers, can still be held in such high regard, what is it that really makes a Mary Sue? And more than that, why are they so despised? Typically,
okay, let's see what your point is. Maybe he makes the same point I made. Who knows?
characters are made to fill roles needed to tell a story, kind of like casting for a play. For example, Little Red Riding Hood has Red Riding Hood as the main character.
That's your version of Red Riding Hood, huh? That's your choice. That's your image of choice. Okay.
Bad Wolf as the threat, the grandmother gives Red her motivation, and in modern tellings, the huntsman comes along to vanquish the evil wolf and save the day.
Okay, so the huntsman who shows up at the very end of the story, he's given the hunky big perspective here, and that's your choice of okay.
However, Mary Sues aren't born to tell a story. They're born to fulfill an author's power fantasy, and each reason an author has for making their Mary Sue.
Yeah, I'm a little curious why you chose those images, though, frankly. It sounds like you want your fantasy fulfilled with that, but I don't know what to tell you. But let's agree. And now here's the thing. I do agree with you on this. Mary Sues, as typically defined, are a power fantasy. But how do you know what that fantasy is of the author? The problem is that with your definition, you can be very prescriptive as to what defines a power fantasy. Because if you say this character defines a power fantasy, what ends up happening is you yourself can then dismiss the whole character out of hand because it's just the author fulfilling a power fantasy, when that could be nothing further than the truth. Much like how, and I hate to bring her up in this video, but one thing that Lily Orchard says a lot about Rebecca Sugar is that Rebecca Sugar wrote Steven Universe as as a fantasy, a wish fulfillment for herself, but for themselves. But that wasn't really the case. Rebecca Sugar wrote it because they wanted to make a good character with a good narrative. Do you agree if it's good? That's another discussion. But the intention was to tell a compelling story. that dealt with themes and ideas that Rebecca Sugar thought were important. That's not a power fantasy for Rebecca Sugar. It's just Rebecca Sugar wrote a story where characters were powerful. The problem is that created ideas and iconography that they wanted to see in the world. The problem is with Literature Devil's setup right now is that it's establishing that if a character is made for the individual author's power fantasy, it's by definition a Mary Sue, according to what they're saying. Which would then make Batman a Mary Sue, because Batman was made to be a power fantasy for Bill Finger made a character that was actually compelling. Bob Kane just ran the power fantasy into the ground. Yeah, as Crimson Edge is putting it, Rebecca Sugar was inspired by her relationship with her younger brother, Steven. Steven Universe is Rebecca Sugar's brother, Steven. I forgot about that. Thanks for the reminder there, for the nice save. So again, not even a power fantasy for Sugar, a power fantasy for Sugar's brother. Or rather, a fantasy inspired by Sugar's brother. But again, all that's to say, Luke Skywalker is literally Luke S. It's a power fantasy for George Lucas. So, again, we can play this game all we want. The problem is that by defining these terms in such vague absolutes, you open the door up for it being turned against you.
Creates a nasty little subspecies, like the copycat suit, where the author creates their own original character by giving them the same abilities and similar origin story as their favorite character in their...
That's not a nasty trait. That's a training wheels version of writing. Okay, listen, I discussed it with my Sonic video too, to an extent, but a big thing that a lot of younger writers did when they started off were making OCs based on characters they liked. There was a big joke for a while online that if you typed in your name into DeviantArt and put the Hedgehog at the end, you'd get like a fan character based on Sonic. And that's legitimate, but it's also kids playing around with fiction. It's not particularly nasty. The Copycat Sue is just a fun little thing that kids would do, or younger writers, or teens, or preteens, and even adults to an extent. There are a lot of characters who are just copycats of Conan the Barbarian, for example. Or, a lot of D&D characters are just duplicates of Legolas or Dris Duerden. That's fine. It's just a matter of developing that skill.
Favorite series, except even better. And probably female. Strange how that works. Anyway, they'll
a little sexism slipped in there, huh? Jackass.
Make these characters even if it doesn't make any sense. Sort of like writing an Avatar The Last Airbender fanfic and making your original character an airbender despite them being wiped out. Hence the word last in the title. Or better yet, a second Avatar, even though that's impossible. And one that not only has mastered all the elements already, but probably also mastered some secret element no one's ever heard of. And that perfectly highlights what really makes a Mary Sue. In most stories, even the most powerful characters have to bend to the laws of their universe.
No, already, let's take a step back already. Hang on a second, let's take a step back. An example of this would be, let's say, a series where someone is defined by being the master of a special weapon. Let's say a weapon shaped like a key, something really unique and unusual, and it can only be one of them, as established by the rules of the initial installment of the series. Only one. Except for the other guy who has the second one, but that's like an exception, that's fine. Let's say another character can figure out how to use this key-shaped weapon of some kind. It has great powers, and is the only one who can save the world from the powers of darkness, let's hypothetically speaking. Would that make the second Keyblade Master a Mary Sue? Because they're a copycat, but slightly better than the one that first showed up? You see, when you actually apply your logic to shows that do this idea and do it well, it sounds kind of dumb, doesn't it? Sounds kind of dumb. Let's say also The Last Airbender. Well, The Last Saiyan has kids. They're Saiyans, technically. So, again, that's what happens in Avatar. Aang has kids, and they're also airbenders, and they kind of recreate the airbending tribe, essentially. The problem, Thor's hammer, again, another example right there. Multiple people can wield the hammer of Thor. Is Beta Ray Bill a Mary Sue? Is John Stewart a Mary Sue for also being a human who has a Green Lantern ring? It's not particularly strange. And again, the problem is that with your discussion, you're setting up your own universe to be restricted. You can't evolve or complicate or change the narrative. Hell, even Piccolo. Piccolo was established as in Dragon Ball Z, was established as Kami's darker half, split off from Kami, who is the god of the world. By establishing that Kami came from another planet, that would be exactly what he's describing still. Only they're better now than Piccolo. So Nail is stronger than Piccolo. Does that make Nail a Mary Sue? And yeah, the problem is that you can always point to examples of these characters who were called Mary Sues, of course. But the problem is that I don't think that he fully thought out his own argument here. Let's hear what he has to say. Maybe he cuts me off at the pass. I should have listened to him to begin with.
Voldemort, for example, may have been the Dark Lord, but he still had to follow the rules of magic and pay the price every time he used the more potent stuff.
Okay, so Horcruxes were made just to justify why you couldn't just Avada Kedavra Voldemort. Just saying.
Vader, the most powerful Force user in the galaxy far, far away, was still prevented from raising the dead because he remained bound to his own limitations in the Force.
You sure you want to use Vader as an example? All right, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you're a 9-year-old kid, right? And you are in a galaxy filled with people who are sensitive to the Force and you can use the Force or whatever. And you have an army of an airborne fight. You have no training in being a fighter. You have skill with pod racing, which is a 2-dimensional plane of like racing, not the 3-dimensional plane of space. So you're a 9-year-old kid. You get inside of a ship you've never driven at all in your life, and just intuitively fly into space, win a battle single-handedly by blowing up a massive space station, and effectively saving the day and helping turn the tide of war, and thus destroying an army by blowing up said station. It sounds a little bit like a Mary Sue, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Literature Devil? It's almost like Anakin is ridiculously overpowered, and he's the strongest Force user around. He's beyond everything else. He can beat all the other Jedi, and he's great. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So young Anakin at the age of 9 has never been trained to fight in a war before. He has been trained to pod race, which is different from fighting. So again, you're citing Anakin. I'm only using Anakin because you brought Anakin up. And that's a major conclusion. It's the end of the first film. That's what gets him in Obi-Wan's custody, essentially, into being trained as a Padawan, convincing Yoda with that. That, and of course, Qui-Gon having faith in Anakin. David Deister, thank you for Super Chat. I bet he's going to bash Rey next. I began to hate the character ever since 2015. I don't mind Rey. Rey's fine. Rey's just an average Force user in a universe without Force people in it. The thing with Rey is that she is essentially a big fish in a small pond. There's just no one else there except for her and Kylo Ren, basically. Whereas Luke, same thing. Small fish, big fish, small pond. Only thing was he was going up against Vader, who's vastly powerful. The thing is, before that, there were a lot of Force users, a lot of Jedi. And Rey is just, just a normal-ish Jedi who happens to be in a world where there's no other Jedi like her. Well, a normal Force user, I should say. Rey's fine. She's a little underwhelming. I don't like how they made her a Palpatine daughter, but, that's fine. It's not that big a deal. There's much worse out there. And if you read fiction beyond just what's mainstream, you realize there's much worse than Rey. Rey's just okay.
Even Superman, one of, if not the, most powerful superhero in existence, is bound by the laws of his own universe. Love he gets from the people?
Nope, not true. If you ever read All-Star Superman, you'd know that's incorrect. But I digress.
He earned it through good deeds and sacrifice.
He didn't earn anything. He was given it because he absorbed the power of the yellow sun. He didn't earn power through good deeds. He's born with it by the circumstances of where his father sent him.
And Superman may be powerful, but we see the breadth of that power can be a burden, especially when he's confronted with the fact that despite being the most powerful man alive, he can't always right every wrong. If you look closely, there's only one real underlying element that positively identifies a character as a Mary Sue. While normal characters are stuck obeying the laws of their own universe, in the case of a Mary Sue, the universe bends to obey the character.
Okay, so let me ask this. Jedi Order won't train kids. He's too young. The rules bend for him. By your own logic, it doesn't make what you're saying doesn't make any sense. You're saying Anakin's not a Mary Sue, but the rules of his world bend for him. Yeah, he can't raise the dead, but beyond that, everything else breaks around him. And you know who can raise the dead? Palpatine. Palpatine can raise the dead. He can come back to life. Also, Voldemort, uses Voldemort before as an example of the Dark Lord. Voldemort is unnaturally powerful. He is the heir of Slytherin. He's able to use all this great power. He can break his soul 7 times for Horcruxes, something that no one's done before. Breaking the laws of magic. Breaking your soul once is considered too big a sin. But he manages to break it 7 times and put it into 7 little fragments, and then break it an 8th time by accident. That is breaking the logic of reality. Hell, Harry Potter survives getting struck by a death curse twice. By your own logic, these characters are Mary Sues because they break the laws of their universe.
What do I mean by that? Let's go back to Wesley Crusher. In Star Trek The Next Generation, the starship Enterprise is the flagship of the Federation, and therefore is staffed with the smartest, bravest, and most accomplished people in Starfleet. And Diana Troy. Wesley Crusher was a teenage...
Oh, fuck you for the Diana Troy slander, but let's keep going.
Boy who lived on the ship and was Gene Roddenberry's very own canon Mary Sue, or Marty Stu if you want to get technical. Wesley is infamous for single-handedly saving the Enterprise on several occasions, thanks to being such an impossible super genius. How impossible exactly? So impossible that this boy with no Starfleet training can outsmart entire engineering teams and do in minutes what well-trained professionals couldn't do in weeks.
Yeah, but that's because they were older and using less refined techniques, but I digress.
He also gets promoted to acting ensign, allowed free reign of the ship, and anyone who opposes him is wrong for doing so.
You realize, of course, that most people have free access to the ship, except for a couple characters. He's just given it as a special privilege. And even then, he has to prove he's worthy of it by his actions. So what you're saying doesn't make any sense. I'm not a big Wesley fan, but you're acting like the fact that he's competent and does some things right sometimes is somehow terrible. And you're removing a lot of contexts for this.
In other words, the Enterprise crew is comprised of the best in Starfleet, until Wesley becomes the focus and the Enterprise crew drops 100 IQ points, and the universe bends to create improbable scenarios, all to make Wesley look good. But Wesley has nothing compared to this new breed of Mary Sue.
Okay, so here's the problem with this. Wesley displaying occasional competence and losing sometimes, having to learn things along the way. That's a Mary Sue in your opinion. Even though it literally does not fulfill any of the traits that you were describing at the beginning of the video. Because when you isolate a few things and rephrase them, yeah, that sounds kind of Mary Sue-ish, but then again, so does a 9-year-old who can win an air fight despite never flying a plane before. So, and there aren't even that many Wesley episodes. He's barely in that show. He has a few key episodes here and there, but he's not like he's like a reoccurring character. Yeah, he's a main character. Yeah, but he's not like the biggest thing there. Ridiculous. Meow Neon, thank you for super chat. Kid soldiers in Starfleet always seemed weird to me. Yeah, they are weird. That is a weird thing. The problem is, you're saying that because Wesley can resolve the conflict of a couple of episodes, that makes him a Mary Sue? Because he has a role in the story? I don't think you've watched Star Trek.
Dark new fusion between two of media's deadliest diseases, the Mary Sue and social justice. Social justice is like a zombie plague. It makes everything worse. It's kind of like
What? Wait, hang on. What are those images there? This is the most replayed part right here, by the way, guys. So chat. This is the most replayed section of the video. You can see that? Take a look again.
Breed of Mary Sue, this dark new fusion between two of media's deadliest diseases, the Mary Sue and social justice. Social justice is like a zombie plague.
So comparing people who care about society as, okay.
It makes everything.
Okay, so right here we have, I don't even, what does this have to do with social justice? So she has her hair differently and is a different looking shot? She looks older? What's wrong with that? You have a girl who is styled differently? Got a haircut and is wearing like a jacket? So wait a second. It's worse when a girl sits facing a camera as opposed to facing backwards? What's your point? Like, what is your point? They changed her hair. Okay, so what? Has glasses. So what? What's so bad?
Worse. It's kind of...
Okay, this one's even more ridiculous. She's dressed like Misa Amane and is cosplaying a different character. What's wrong with that? It's cosplay. She looks the same. There's no difference between these two people. Just she has a different wig on and a different outfit on. But they're both cosplaying. They're both cosplayers. So what's your point?
Kind of like we were battling Nazis, and now thanks to social justice, we're battling Nazi zombies. Or we made some friends with some cool people, but the social justice virus turned them into evil, soulless monsters that feed off happiness. Or
you have a victim complex, dude. You really have a victim complex.
You finally met that beautiful woman of your dreams, and now social justice has changed her into a hideous abomination that feeds on the blood of men. And now it's...
So because a girl has thoughts that are different from yours, that makes her a hideous monster that feeds upon the hearts of men. Dude, I think you have a problem. You may want to talk to a therapist about it, quite frankly. Genuinely talk to someone. You have an issue. You're a little, like, you sound paranoid. You sound immensely paranoid.
It's infected the Mary Sue, which isn't just bad. It's a nightmare scenario. But as every...
So terrible. Because a couple of characters in fiction are a little over the top. That means we have a mind virus or something. Man, can you imagine knowing this person in real life? Like, really, can you imagine knowing this person in real life?
Every SJW hero a Mary Sue? Probably not. Some, I assume, are good characters. However, while the normal Mary Sue plays out power fantasies, like being smart and beautiful, the SJW Sue's fantasy is fulfilling all the author's social justice bias. All good men are gay or submissive. Straight white men are evil. Your chosen minority is the wisest, smartest, most misunderstood, and most productive people despite being savagely oppressed. America is portrayed as treating women and minorities like Jews in Nazi Germany. Anyone who holds opinions you don't agree with is a literal Nazi, and the universe of an SJW story bends to justify anything their character does.
Okay, oh, that's your first option. America. Bad. Rey Skywalker, who takes place in a galaxy far, far away and is not anywhere close to America. Okay, again, what was that again? America is basically a Nazi Germany. Anyone with opposing opinion is literally a Nazi. I guess that makes Luke Skywalker a Nazi, apparently, according to his logic. Adrian Parchman, thank you for the chat. Literature Devil has no maiden. No, he is maidenless. Very maidenless. Okay, so let's look at this again. All good men are gay or submissive. Finn is not submissive. Poe Dameron's not submissive. They're both very assertive characters who go on their own paths. Luke Skywalker, not submissive. In fact, he completely rejects everything Rey says. Pretty not submissive there. Straight white men are evil. Well, unfortunately, Poe Dameron is straight. So, there you go. Well, so he says anyway. Luke Skywalker, definitely not gay, according to you. So, is he evil? No, not at all. By Rey, Han Solo has a wife and kid. He's not evil. In fact, who is evil in the sequel trilogy? It's actual fascists, because Star Wars is a series about fighting a fascist empire. Okay. They've always been fascists. That's not particularly new, so it's not created for Rey. Already, right there. Nothing with America, so there you go. Anyone with an opposing opinion is literally a Nazi. Well, Luke's not a Nazi. So, there you go. So, by your own logic, Rey doesn't even fit any of the qualities that you just laid out. At all. Here's the thing also that's kind of funny. If you look at it from this perspective, then Luke Skywalker is the SJW Sue fantasy, because in Star Wars, as George Lucas has said multiple times, the Empire is an allegory for America during the Vietnam War. So the problem is there, my guy, you're talking about Star Wars as your first example. Well, Star Wars was always political. You just didn't pick up on it. Can't imagine why. It's not a new thing just because you just started noticing it as an adult.
And the universe of an SJW story bends to justify anything their character does. Rey from the new Star Wars trilogy is probably the most mainstream of SJW Mary Sue's. Her
Doesn't even fit half the qualities you mentioned. Well, let's see what you have to say.
character is devoid of imagination, has no personality to speak of, and according to the people who work on modern Star Wars, is completely without weaknesses. And that
Yeah, no weakness does not mean you're unbeatable. Just means you don't have a weakness. Like a thing that can be exploited. For example, Batman doesn't have a weakness either. He's just a man, though. Spider-Man doesn't have a weakness. But he can be shot, he can be hurt, his loved ones can be harmed. That's not a weakness, that's a strength by some definitions. Sherlock Holmes doesn't have a weakness, but you can throw him off a cliff. Still stops him. Not having a weakness doesn't mean you have no flaws. It means you have nothing that can be exploited by an antagonist, specifically to stop you. A weakness is like kryptonite, the one thing that can hurt you. It is the mistletoe for Balder. It is the ankle for Achilles. Not the same thing as not having a flaw. Not the same thing as having something that can be hurt. You can still be stopped. So it's really not remotely at all like what you're talking about. Thinvo, thank you for Super Chat. I literally can't name a single mainstream IP, old or modern, that fits these criteria at all. No, neither can I. I can't think of a single one. They're so specific and so particular that nothing I can think of that's mainstream fits that. Now, outside the mainstream, it's one thing, but there's very few characters who fully fit that. You have to make a lot of reductions as to what actually happens in the narrative to figure out what's going on.
That last part in particular is pushed as a virtue rather than a dirty, dirty writing sin. They made her the perfect feminist role model instead of a relatable character with
What was that image there, buddy?
sin. They made her the perfect feminist role model instead of
You thought you could skip by past that, huh? You thought you can get right past that?
perfect feminist role model.
Yeah, it's a big fat Wonder Woman icon. That's your little slip right there, huh? Real contempt towards women there. I gotta say, you really hate women, don't you? Like every image of a woman that you have is either like a gorgeous bombshell that you find beautiful, or mocking their appearance. Like, listen, I'm not trying to be like I'm not an SJW here or anything, but like, dude, what is your problem with women? Like, chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? A woman doesn't dress like how you want. Oh, that SJW mind virus, it's ruined everything. Women changing clothing. Come on, man. Like, here's the thing. Can you be... Even Jar wasn't as much of a cartoon character as you are, my guy.
Instead of a relatable character with humanity. I can only guess that her lack of weaknesses was to make
You don't want to... But here's the thing. You don't want a relatable character. You want a bombshell. You want something you can enjoy. In that way. Nothing you've described so far makes her relatable. Here's the thing. A character who is more human is relatable, but you'd hate that because if a woman changes her wig for her cosplay, you find that offensive to you. A woman puts on glasses, you're like, oh my god, women with glasses, I can't imagine what that's like, because that's what you. And I'm only basing this off the images you supply, my guy. I wouldn't say otherwise, but you brought them up. You brought it all up, my guy. So what are you gonna do?
Inspiration to little girls, which only makes sense if you don't know what a role model actually is. Unless you think a person who's never had a problem walking would make a great role model for people who are stuck in wheelchairs, because he doesn't have any trouble walking. Or a skinny person who's never been fat their entire lives would make a great role model for people trying to lose weight because he doesn't have a weight problem. But
you think that's skinny though? That guy's jacked as shit. So put the right images to the words you're saying, my guy.
What really flags her as a Mary Sue is not her ability to live alone, or single-handedly fight off enemies twice her size, or fix the Millennium Falcon better than its owner can. I'm not even going.
Well, that's because when she fixes the Millennium Falcon, it's to remove modifications made after Han Solo gave up had the Falcon taken from him. So these are additions made to the machinery that she'd know about, that he wouldn't know about. And she'd know about them because she was present for them being put in, because she knows the guy who put it in. And spent years around it, apparently. So it's like, yeah, she would know how to fix things that were added to the Falcon after Han Solo lost the Falcon. Come on. This is ridiculous. If you're going to at least justify your perspectives, at least try doing it remotely close to what it actually is.
Going to dock her for being born to
Hey there, Thuman.
space trash parents. It's the fact that the universe just gives her everything. I mean, they stop at a bar that just so happens to have Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
Just so happens, they don't just stop at a bar, they stop at a place where Maz Katana's location, where Maz just happens to be very wise with the Force, very experienced with the Force. Yes, the fact that Anakin's lightsaber is there is kind of ridiculous. Never explained that in the films. But that's not particularly bad.
Not a lightsaber, but Luke's lightsaber. She develops Force powers on the fly and can use them effectively with zero training and zero knowledge on the subject, and was...
So could Anakin. So Anakin had no training in the Force, yet could fly a jet into the sky. Not a jet, it's a certain spacecraft, but it's a jet. So Anakin had no skill with piloting. He just used the Force to pod race, which is different from piloting in three-dimensional space outside the stratosphere. Very different concept. Unless you think that a race car driver can fly a stealth bomber, then what you're describing is equally absurd. In fact, more so absurd. Because unlike, say, the Force, which flows through everyone and naturally affects certain people by the laws of the universe more than others, unless that's something that's exceptional to you, that the Force works with Rey the way it works with everyone else, Rey never demonstrates any skills that she wouldn't reasonably have developed on her own. But Anakin Skywalker, as a baby, can end a war and pilot a starship better than all his peers without any training whatsoever. That's bad. That's okay to you, but Rey having an experience that frightens her with an object she's unfamiliar with is Mary Sue-like. And when she finds the lightsaber, she wants to leave because it scares her. She wants nothing to do with it, but is forced into action anyway. And that right there is an example of being opposed by the heroes of the story who want her involved, and she wants nothing to do with it. But that's not framing them as like Nazis, like you said before. So again, by your own logic, Rey doesn't fit the bill.
Was able to defeat Kylo Ren in a lightsaber duel. A man who...
Kylo Ren, after being shot with a bowcaster bolt through the chest, bleeding profusely through the snow, and having fought off a trained combatant previously. That Kylo Ren? That one? Okay.
Was personally trained by Luke Skywalker and was able to wage a successful rebellion against his former teacher. So...
But, in the context of the movie, Kylo Ren has also not yet completed his training. He completes it in The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren is not fully trained at this time. So you're arguing that someone who is not fully trained fights someone who is equally not fully trained, and the one person who is not fully trained beats the other not fully trained person. His successful rebellion is he catches Luke Skywalker off guard because he hesitates. A building is dropped on Luke, and then Kylo Ren beats a bunch of untrained children with a bunch of other people he swayed to his side, with the assistance of the First Order remotely. So by that logic, it doesn't hold up what you're describing. You're describing two characters who are among the weakest Force users in Star Wars because they're the only ones left fighting. The movies even say that Kylo Ren is vastly weaker than Darth Vader. He is mocked by Luke Skywalker in a fight. Just completely disrespected. It is ridiculous what you're saying. Yuki Iwatawe, thank you for Super Chat. What the fuck is wrong with this suit NPC? Also, Jar, get my grandma's name out of your throat. That's fair. Nick Wolf, thanks for Super Chat. Come on, Lucha Devil. The pun of Social Justice Warriors was right there. Also, Spider-Man does have a weakness. It's called Marvel Editorial. That's fair, actually. That's a good point. I will grant you that. That is a substantial weakness. Marvel Editorial hates Spider-Man. Finn Vo, thank you for Super Chat. Friendly reminder that Rey also crashed the Millennium Falcon on her first try, while Anakin literally presses random buttons that fly himself to space. Yeah, exactly. Anakin pushes buttons at random and can stop a war single-handedly, while everyone else who's been trained for years and maybe decades struggles. Multiple armies can't do what Anakin does in his first time behind the cockpit. But because Rey fought off one guy who wasn't fully trained and not that strong in the vast scheme of Star Wars, that makes her a Mary Sue. Okay. You know, somehow I think this might not be the most rational argument of yours, Mr. Suit Guy, but I digress.
How much training do you think Rey had in lightsaber combat before beating someone trained in lightsaber combat? That's right, 0. Anakin Skywalker was also a Mary Sue. After all, he did manage to take down a droid command ship on his own when he was like 9, and the universe almost literally revolved around him. I mean, he had his own prophecy and everything. But here's the thing, Anakin still needed to be trained before he could use Force powers effectively.
No, you dumbass. Him being in a pod race was him using his Force powers. A pod race was impossible for any other human being to do. That was the beyond Force power skill right there. That's what tipped off Qui-Gon. This guy is strong with the Force. Not just that he had access to the Force, not that he was Force sensitive, but Anakin was strong with the Force, clearly because he could pod race. And the Force worked through Anakin to maneuver a vehicle with superhuman speed. You idiot. Did you even watch Star Wars? Do you think all Force powers is just, the mind trick or whatever? No, it's the reactions. Knowing what to do at the right time. You idiot. You dumbass. How the fuck did you miss that? That's a key element to the story. I had to train to use Force powers. No, he didn't. He was a 9-year-old kid and can do things that humans who are master pilots without the Force couldn't do. He still needed training to be better, but then so did Rey. Fucking moron. Okay. Elf Zeppo, thank you for Super Chat. Is Jar still going in 2025? I thought we defeated him. Guess it's Joker immunity. Well, Jar is not uploaded in 4 months, so that's a factor right there. Angels Art and Gaming. To be honest, this has given me better appreciation for Rey. Yeah, exactly. Rey isn't that bad. Rey is just one of the weaker characters in Star Wars who arrived at a point where most of the other Jedi were already gone. She's a big fish in a small pond. That's all she is. She's not a Mary Sue. She's just the most competent of the Jedi in an era where all the Jedi are dead. Zoro J. Zephyr, thank you for Super Chat. No, it makes sense because she's a girl. Apparently so. Anyway, let's keep going.
Think on that a moment. Anakin was pretty much a living avatar of the Force, and he still needed years of training to actually use the Force.
No, he was 9 to use the Force. Watch the fucking movies next time.
Every major Jedi character had to go through some kind of training before they were able to do the cool Jedi stuff.
No. They had to go through cool training to control the Force.
And if it was just mentioned in passing, like with Anakin, or Starkiller if you played Force Unleashed.
So wait a second. Starkiller is not a Mary Sue because he can move starships with his mind. But Rey's a Mary Sue because she tried something like, what was it, the little mind control trick once. She took a few tries copying the story she heard. It worked out for her. And she beat Kylo Ren in a fight, who was seriously injured. And also untrained. And also a weak villain in the hierarchy of Star Wars in terms of power level. That is somehow, to you, the same. Oh, I don't really believe in weaknesses in people. That's not a cop-out. Darth Vader didn't have weakness either. Luke Skywalker didn't have weakness either. Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't have weakness either. But people are sometimes struck and hurt in ways they can't recover from. Again, the problem is that you don't really understand how this fucking thing works. So let's keep going. By the way, he's only said one example of the SJW mind virus thing. The SJW Mary Sue so far. Only one example. And it's Rey, and he's doing a bad job defending his argument.
On top of being completely without weaknesses, Rey also doesn't have to work for anything. If
she trains under Luke in the Last Jedi. She spends her entire life fighting for survival. That right there trains her in combat. And she's a mechanic because she's around mechanical parts all her life. She has to know how to take things apart, put them back together, know what function they serve, etc. By the nature of her work. This is established pretty early on. She doesn't have to work for anything. What are you talking about?
she needs it, well, she's just handed the solution because the Star Wars writers are trying to convey a message rather than tell a story. Say what you want.
What was she handed? Explain it to us.
Want about George Lucas. At least his goal was to tell a story. An easily marketable story, but a story. Now let's look at another example.
No, you didn't even explain what. Hang on. You didn't even explain how she's handed everything. She beats one guy who's seriously injured in a fight, who also is untrained. That's being handed something? She's given a lightsaber that she rejects and only calls to it when she reaches out to take it. She's not handed it, she reaches for it. It just so happens to be within reach, yes, but she has to take hold of it. Nick Wolf, thank you, Super Chat. No, Literature Devil, Baby Starkiller was able to use the Force to pull Vader's lightsaber out of his mechanical hand. Same thing as a 9-year-old Anakin, dumbass. Yeah, exactly. This is ridiculous. Scorpion Wolf, thank you, Super Chat. Hey, Anthony, it's cool seeing people like you trying to push against the anti-woke content. But do you have any interest in the future in directly debating with those possibly more nuanced takes? I've done it before. I've discussed people with more nuanced takes and debated it, but it would have to be in a situation where both parties, myself and the debating party, are interested in actually engaging with the ideas and not just yelling over the other person. That'd be my key condition. It'd have to be with someone who is willing to actually debate, and we could both stream to our own individual audiences, but I would prefer someone in the middle to moderate as well. Okay, what are you going to say about Black Widow?
Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff, while I wouldn't consider her a Mary Sue character,
then why are you even fucking mentioning her?
Yet has much less of a character than she could have, because social justice warriors won't allow her any weaknesses. The famous outrage brought on by the Age of Ultron movie that caused Joss Whedon to evacuate Twitter was sparked because Black Widow finally got a moment of vulnerability. Oh sure, we've seen her brood over her dark past before, but that was cool, edgy superhero stuff. Plus, all that mention of red she had in her ledger probably appealed to the cat lady crowd. Natasha revealed that she was made infertile to make her a better spy/assassin, since having a child would understandably compromise her willingness to kill. This is kind of like the female equivalent of castrating a man so he can concentrate on his job without the pesky lust kicking in, Unsullied style. They'd taken away a core element of her womanhood so she could be a tool for murder. And
you're an idiot if that's the point you're trying to make. You're a dumbass. How did you misinterpret what people were upset about with that scene so badly? It has nothing to do with the fact that she had that removed. It had to do with how it was discussed. You dumb person. How did you misinterpret it so greatly? The big issue at play was not that it happened. The problem was that the way Joss Whedon wrote it was that she called herself a monster for having the procedure done. That because she had that surgery done to her, she was less human. That was the controversy. It had nothing to do with the idea that she was scarred for life and it was traumatizing. It had to do with the fact that she was calling herself inhuman and that no one corrected her in the story. Bruce Banner just hears that and goes, oh, I guess you're right. I guess you are inhuman. That's the vibe it gets. That's why people had an issue with it. You missed the mark so far in getting as to why people were pissed off about it that I have trouble believing you have any understanding of how to interpret media. How did you miss the mark so greatly with that? How did you fail to understand that? And yeah, the other implication is, of course, he's saying that he thinks that all women should be mothers. Okay, that's one factor as well. He thinks the inherent value of a woman is how much they can reproduce. But even beyond that, the fact that you missed the point as to why people were mad so much tells me you're not someone who can logically understand what's going on in front of him. Despite your super hyper logical perspective and persona, you really don't know what the fuck you're talking about, do you? And yeah, that's all in the movie. That's all in the movie what I just described. Because it's the scene where Hulk is saying he's a monster and all that, and Black Widow is trying to empathize with them, and to kind of show that, hey, she understands what it's like to be a monster, she describes the surgery used to remove her uterus. And that's her, I can understand how you feel as a great monster, because I too am a monster for this reason. It's so absurd. And the reason it was criticized is because it's kind of screwed up to say that. Not just kind of screwed up, deeply screwed up. And the fact that you failed to get what that point is proof you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, let's keep reading some super chats. There are a few super chats I missed. Let me read those out right now. Anyway. Muhammad, thank you for super chat. Rey isn't a weak character because she's perfect. It's because she was poorly characterized. If Rey was better characterized, she would have talented, not perfect. They missed the mark. Point and argue semantics. Yeah, I would say Rey could have been better written, undeniably so. I'm not one who says that Star Wars is some masterpiece of storytelling. I think all of them are flawed in some way. I think Rey could have been better. I'm working on a Star Wars rewrite, actually, to emphasize my criticisms of the Star Wars writing, for the sequel trilogy anyway. But Shadowlands, thank you, Super Chat. A part of me feels that these people had no ammo if Rey lost an arm like Anakin or Luke, but somehow I doubt it. Yeah, they would try to find a way to like justify, oh, it's cool, she's edgy and something, who knows. They'd find a way to twist it. They were looking for evidence to say she was, I mean, look at the Jar video. He was saying how Ahsoka was going to be a Mary Sue in the Ahsoka series based on the trailer. He didn't even watch the show, and he was calling her a Mary Sue already. They didn't care about the actual narrative or text of a story. They were looking for justification before it even started. Let's keep going.
In her eyes, this made her a monster. And in response, feminists were like, hey, she should be out getting abortions and killing men, not having pesky humanity. I mean...
How did you fucking miss the point again? Hell, that's even worse than what I thought. I thought you just didn't get it. But no, you got it, but you took the most bizarre approach from that. And demeaning women with, like, trying to, represent women as, like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, the way every single example of a woman that you've had is fat, piercings, has glasses, and has dark hair as opposed to blonde hair. That tells me you're trying to demean them. Because you're using these as the way social justice ruined women, quote unquote. So your framing of this is fat shaming. It is making people act like tattoos and piercings are inherently bad. And you're saying that people with funny shirts are somehow not good enough for you. It's almost like you can't actually argue your way out of a paper bag and have to rely on these straw men to prop you up. Because, your audience are also fat-phobic, hate piercings, hate glasses, and dyed hair, apparently. So, there you go.
We're doing just fine without it. In that moment, Black Widow had committed a cardinal sin of social justice. She felt shame. And in the world...
Shame for what? Shame for what, the literary gentleman? Literary devil? What did she feel shame about? What did you feel shame about? Shame for what? What was it that she had shame for? Why are you avoiding that? She had shame. Shame for what? What would she have shame for? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Say it. You can say it. We all know the answer. You're saying that she had shame because she did not feel like she identified as that she did not have this key, in your opinion, key element that makes her a woman, by your perspective. So the problem isn't that people were upset that she was calling herself a monster, that no one was disagreeing with her, by the way, that she lost this thing. You're saying that it's good that she felt shame because women should have that. Women should always have that. If you don't have that, you're not a woman in your eyes. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? You're free to argue otherwise. But it seems to me like your key argument is that women who have surgery should be hated. These guys are fucking losers. Zachary Zwicky, thank you so much. Of course, she is an inhuman. She wasn't exposed to Terrigen gas, and Black Widowed was a part of the parts of Marvel that was successful. Yeah, there we go. Exactly. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. Oh, that's a thought. Rey and Kylo both lose their arms when they reach out to Anakin's lightsaber and cause it to explode like in The Last Jedi. That'd be a cool idea. It would kind of fit with the whole people getting their arms blown off and cut off in Star Wars, but I digress. Yeah, dude. So Literature Devil, never go, despite your name being a devil, never go to a goth rave. You're just not going to feel comfortable there. It's all piercings and tattoos. You'll feel ostracized immediately. In fact, do go. And no, Crimson, that's not stinky to say. It's a good thing to say, I think.
World of social justice, no one should feel shame for anything, ever. Unless you vote Republican, I guess. Keep up the good work, Ethan. Needless to say...
Oh, wait, Ethan Wait, hang on a second.
World of social justice, no one should feel shame for anything, ever. Unless you vote Republican, I guess. Keep up the good work.
Ethan Van Sciver only had 76,000 subscribers at that time? That was at the height of Comics Gate. That's when he got most of his subscribers. Only 76. Huh. Interesting. He's doubled that in 6 years. Guess that's good, I guess, but I think he's gone down a bit. So yeah, if he's shall we say, sucking up to Ethan Van Sciver like a sad little puppy, that kind of proves he's not exactly all that reputable.
Ethan. Needless to say, being raised by television and pop culture references tends to result in people who can't human very well. Audiences have ways...
Dude, you couldn't understand what people were upset over something. You have no space to explain what is human and what isn't. If you somehow misunderstood what people were directly saying and explaining what their feelings were rationally, somehow, I don't personally think you're the best person to explain to me what is normal.
Waged a long war against the Mary Sue, and for a while, the audience was winning. We get more complicated characters with flaws, motivations, and desires. Perhaps the greatest sin of an SJW Sue is that it refused...
Okay, so let's see right here. We got Kate Bishop, you're saying is a Mary Sue. Kate Bishop, who has no powers and just shoots arrows. Gwenpool, who has no powers and is just always out of her element, looking for a place to exist. You got, what is that, Hawkeye right there? Okay, Hawkeye, who is also not a Mary Sue at all. In fact, his book is about how much his life sucks. America Chavez, who is powerful, yes, but that's one example of a powerful character who just has basically average-ish strength in the series. West Coast Avengers is a reboot of a long-running series. The West Coast Avengers have been going on since the 70s. Not canceled, just comes back in and out of style. Marvel stops their books and then restarts them with a new issue 1 to boost sales, because issue 1 sells always better all the time. That's a scummy business practice I disagree with. Angels Art and Gaming, thanks super chat. No one should feel shamed as he shames people. Yeah, exactly. He's ridiculous. This guy's a total hypocrite. But if he's saying that Kate Bishop is a Mary Sue, I'm going to have to question what you even qualify as a Mary Sue. Because that's stupid.
Uses to die. No matter how many times these characters get cancelled, no matter how much hate they get or how little money they generate. The social justice virus keeps bringing them back to life. Where before, creators would eventually surrender and begrudgingly accept success after toning down or getting rid of the character everyone hated, now...
I'm sorry, you're saying that George Lucas got successful
getting rid of the character everyone...
after getting rid of Jar Jar? You do realize that The Phantom Menace was the highest grossing of the prequels, right? They went downhill after that. You know that, right? If you look at the box office for the prequels, the Phantom Menace is the highest grossing one. By a lot. Okay. Accept success. Lower sales. More budget. Myan Yan, thank you for Super Chat. Ethan Van Sciver tendencies and views long turned me off of his work. Way back when he posted during Obama's re-election. Oof. Surprisingly, also Bill Willingham. Yeah, agree. Ethan Van Sciver had a lot of problems. Like he told like fans to hurt themselves at conventions. Just a cruddy person all around. All right, so EG Studios, thank you for Super Chat. Wondering if these grifters start assuming Ripley from Alien is Mary Sue for being competent and interesting character. They always defend Ripley, but they don't really engage with her character the way they engage with like these modern characters. Probably because they grew up with it and they were raised in these characters. And you know, what are you gonna do? Better than Starlight, thank you for Super Chat. Jill from Resident Evil 3 Remake is a very interesting example of a dropping character writing that gets hijacked by anti-SJW people. It's worth looking into. Yeah, it's fair. I'll take a look at that in a second. Nick Wolf, thanks for Super Chat. Jar Jar, my favorite Mary Sue. Yeah, exactly. He has no... Unless you're saying Jar Jar Binks is a Mary Sue, I don't know what to tell you. Seems pretty weird. Also, Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar, was bullied into a deep depression from people like you pressuring them into shaming them for playing a role. So if you're saying shame works like this, then you're encouraging people to bully the actors involved, in which case I got one thing to tell you. Go fuck yourself, you dick. But I digress.
When hated, now being tolerant or being a good ally demands sacrifice of success. So now we have Star Wars movies with devastating returns. And
you see, you're saying Solo's failure was because of SJWs, but I say Solo failed because it came out a few months after another Star Wars film was poorly marketed and audiences did not understand what the concept of the movie was. I think that's the actual reason why it failed, but maybe I'm just onto something, who knows.
And indie comic book writers who can compete with Marvel and earn revenue.
Who are you comparing that to? Who are you saying?
And indie comic book.
Marvel, okay, so it looks like Black Panther is the fifth. So it looks like you're saying that in May 2018 specifically, Black Panther was the fifth top grossing comic of that month, issue 1. Okay. Which is the same year that Black Panther, the movie, came out. Okay. Indie creator earnings, you say right here. Oh, Ethan Van Sciver, you're saying. Oh, indie creator earnings. That's what you're saying right there. Who is that? You got Ethan Van Sciver and someone else. So, you know what's funny with Ethan Van Sciver? When did that crowdfunding, how did that crowdfunding work out for him, buddy? When did they receive the issues that they crowdfunded? When was that again? Was that 3 years after it was fulfilled? 3 years after the shipping started, they received it? Or never in some cases? Earnings. Yeah, earnings. That's a good way of saying a scam. Ethan Van Sciver ran a crowdfunding campaign to get his comic book funded and then failed to deliver his comic book, even after finishing it, to people who already paid money to it. That's success in your book, huh? Failing to give someone the thing they paid their money for? Okay. Also, how much do you have to pay in taxes on that? Because I think if you own your own business, those taxes get a little more intense, don't they? Almost over $500,000. You have to pay up that somehow. How long did it take for him to get that one comic book out? How much you have to pay in taxes? And did that translate into long-term success either? You know, did Ethan Van Sciver keep doing that, or was that the peak? And he peaked after that because he didn't make anything after that. That was successful anyway. Thin Vo, thanks Super Chat. Also, Solo came out 2 weeks after Infinity Wars. Yeah, that would be a factor, I'd imagine, slightly.
book writers who can compete with Marvel and earn revenue. People don't want to read perfect people solving dilemmas with no real opposition. People don't want to read about people who don't have flaws or don't...
Also, one other thing about Ethan Van Sciver, the Black Panther book was issue 1, I think it was $4, $3. Ethan Van Sciver priced his one issue of similar length at minimum $50. So yeah, he's going to earn more money with fewer sales because he priced it at an absurd level. Didn't Ethan Van Sciver also come into conflict with the Viperverse guy? Yeah. So him and Eric July got into a big beef as well. I was hoping to just fight each other until they both disappeared off the internet, but I digress.
Have to earn what they get. Half the fun of the original Star Wars trilogy was seeing Luke discover his new abilities and battle a powerful enemy.
Was it? He doesn't use his abilities till the Return of the Jedi. Discovers new abilities. He doesn't use the abilities beyond, again, wielding a lightsaber, which he loses in his one duel with a lightsaber. He does pilot the X-Wing. Again, much like with Anakin, he used the Force to navigate properly. Though, again, his feat with the X-Wing is far less impressive than Anakin's at the age of 9. But what are you going to do?
While learning what the Force represents. We all have an ideal version of ourselves. That's what we strive to become. We want to be smarter, stronger, thinner, better.
Your example is... Wait, that is Christian Bale in American Psycho. Are you just quoting American Psycho? That's your example? American Psycho? You realize that's making fun of the ideal of the 80s, right? You are fully grabbing on to a parody and acting like it's something to aspire to. You dumb person.
Better looking. It takes work to get there. A journey, you might say. It's the journey people want to see. I mean, why do you think people hate spoilers so much? They want to see what happens. And Mary Sue is the avatar of spoilers. There's no journey, no growth. They're everyone's favorite and the world hands them everything. And
how did you say so many words but say nothing whatsoever?
Everything they're involved in jumps right to the end. But weaknesses, flaws, vulnerabilities, shame, social justice advocates say these are things female and minority heroes don't have.
Okay, show an example of that. Show one example of that. Not saying it doesn't happen. Hey, it probably happens a lot. Show one example of that happening. Specifically, one that's not flash framed with a straw man. Show the whole argument. Show it. You're saying it happens all the time, right? Should be easy for you. Show an example. Do it, coward. Show a single example of it happening. Oh, it's out. You can't? Oh, that's tough shit, isn't it?
Why do so many SJW characters trigger that little Mary Sue alarm we all have in the back of our minds? Because the ideal role model character for the social...
So, your examples of the social justice Mary Sue character, Rey Skywalker and Black Widow. That is all your examples. That's the only thing you got. That's it. Okay. Sounds effective. Good example. A massive trend of characters, 2 specific characters from 2 of the biggest franchises I can think of off the top of my head, and I couldn't explain what both of them do. That's what you're saying. Myeon, thank you for super chat. It is wishes that EVS catapulted into stardom with Sinestro War, then quickly sank his career. Liam Sharp, better contemporary with similar style. Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, listen, he sank his career by leaving DC, so yeah, he made a lot of money immediately with his indie comic stuff, but he sank it in the long run. Yeah, okay, I feel like I could flash an image of Furiosa at this fuck ass and he'd explode into dust. Yeah, he would. These guys were pissed at the Mad Max Fury Road when it came out. They were raging. I remember back in the day, these guys were like so pissed about that. And again, that's just Furiosa. That's like a fairly great movie. Oh, well, not Furiosa. Well, Furiosa I haven't seen yet, but Fury Road is fairly big. The character Furiosa, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, still, point is, dumbass.
Justice Crowd is nothing less than a Mary Sue infected with terminal social justice.
You see, here's the thing, Literature Devil. Just by flashing a bunch of words on screen doesn't actually make you sound sophisticated. It makes you sound, what's the word I'm looking for? Arrogant. You aren't actually saying anything of value right now is the problem. You've said a lot, but nothing of value. By putting these big words on screen, what you've actually accomplished is you've indicated to the audience that you can put these big words and repeat them, and by repeating them, it makes it sound like it's meaningful, but it's not. It's not meaningful. Because the problem is that, by your own logic, you haven't really said anything. You haven't explained what social justice even is. Just a mind virus, apparently. But you failed to actually explain what it actually entails, what it does, what its ideas are, what its ideology is. It's that kind of pretentious kind of nonsense where you can say a whole bunch of big words that's supposed to mean something, but when you actually break down to say what actually was even said, you realize the harsh, undeniable truth that you actually said nothing whatsoever. And that's all you did. Nothing. You have said nothing. You have articulated nothing. You have barely spoken a single word that actually articulates anything. You have spoken out of your ass with the farting intensity of a trombone player trying to overshadow the rest of the orchestra in a rendition of a low, soft harmonic symphony. In short, you're out of tune and you sound bad. Oh my goodness. Nick Wolf, thank you for super chat. Imagine social justice. This terminal. Basically. All it is just whiff-waffing over nothing. Corn-cobbing until you're nothing but a corn cob. Maybe in the last 20 seconds he gets good. Oh, that's it. How's Literature Devil's videos doing right now? 2.22 million. Let's see how he's doing recently. 11,000. 12,000. 29,000. Okay. Has about twice the subscribers I have. I guess that really works for him. Okay. I think, Oh, yeah, of course his video is in the Acolyte. What would you think? Of course he's going to have that. Yeah, that's a drop from 2.2 million. I guess people didn't really stick around. I did react to one of his videos previously about my adventures with Superman, and it's bad. He obsesses over Lois Lane pretty badly. Yeah, exactly. This is a harsh drop-off. But even then, 6 years ago, he wasn't doing that great either. That's pretty bad. It's pretty terrible. Yeah, the X-Men video I also responded to as well previously. Okay, so that's about all I can physically take, I think, tonight. I think I'm going to stop early because I don't know if I can take any more of that. That was bad. Except... No, I don't have the strength for a half-hour video about Ray from Mary Sue. Especially because I already reacted to that one too. Except I didn't actually watch it on here. I just ripped the video and put it into my video on YouTube Critics Are Lying to You, which is where Literature Devil actually was really pissy about me. In fact, as a treat, let's hear what he has to say about me. Just to be fair, he has about 3 minutes on me right now. Let's take a look at what Literature Devil had to say about me so we can make it all balanced out. So you can say, I'm a balanced and fair guy. Let's hear what he has to say about me.
There's no more tax on super chats. Then my income, a good chunk of my income is non-taxable. So that's pretty good.
You know, he sounds different when he doesn't have a script to read off of.
That's pretty good. That'd be way better. Happy birthday, Trump. Yeah, happy birthday, Trump. I'm going to tell the president happy birthday later.
There you go.
What do you think of Anthony Gruglia's take on you? You mean the video that he did? It's an interesting mind that reflects the YouTube reviewers that are a specific sect. Well, I mean, he didn't even tell the truth. Like, it was all a bunch of lies. Like, it was the whole idea of the beginning of his video is already poisoning the well so that he can shape us in the same way. So because it starts off with CinemaSins, which is kind of like a joke review channel, which is like oh yeah, this scene does not contain a lap dance. Ding, bad. That's a sin. And then he tried to paint us all as that.
So, the example I used at first was actually specifically talking about how a certain director criticized CinemaSins for making stuff up about his movie. You can take that as me painting you like CinemaSins, but I think it's kind of actually a very different thing. I use your video in a very specific context. I don't paint you like anything. I just play your own words out in front of people and say, hey, here's what they say. Here's why that's incorrect. There you go. But you actually sound very different when you're not reading a script. It's interesting how you have to be highly edited to sound competent, but I digress.
It's full of like weird lies and misdirections.
Weird lies. Like what? Anyone?
Like one of the most blatant is later on where he tries to defend Lily Orchard. And he says,
oh, let's hear this.
oh yeah, I know about the accusations made against Lily Orchard, but if I have to cover Lily Orchard's accusations, I'm going to have to cover everyone else's, and I'm just going to be here all day. Because trying to paint us all as having these horrible allegations.
No. Just John Delarose and Ricada, who's the police reports I showed. I specifically showed John Delarose's abuse against his wife restraining order, and I showed John Ricada giving his children drugs. So it was very specific as to who I was criticizing. You'd have to pause to read the fine print, but I didn't say you did anything. Unless you did do something, in which case you're welcome to come forward about it. But I showed very specifically, I was talking about John Delarose and Ricada, both of whom committed crimes that were reported by the police. And I didn't want to get involved with that, because if the video was going to discuss the various crimes of people around, we'd be here all day. But I do love how you're saying I defended Lily Orchard, especially in hindsight, and especially as at that particular moment, I was still recording the Pokemon reaction streams at that precise moment.
And to prove it, he brings up Nick Ricada's arrest record
go.
for like cocaine and child neglect.
No, for giving his children cocaine specifically, but I digress.
Hinting that we all have these dark rap sheets that we're all like we were arrested for cocaine, child.
Did I hint that? Don't think I ever mentioned you in that regard there, buddy.
Neglect and stuff like that. But he didn't have that on any of us. He brought that up. He brought up Nick Ricada's arrest record.
Yeah.
Or his arrest.
And John Delarose. Did you read that one too?
Guess who he doesn't talk about in the video, Chad? He doesn't even mention Nick Ricada. He doesn't mention Nick Ricada until it's time to break up his arrest record. But he only did that to smear the rest of us and to kind of like kind of hint that I guess he doesn't connect it with. Oh look, here's everyone else. Here's Eric.
I'm glad that you're just as bad as interpreting an argument as you are interpreting media. I'm glad you're consistent, at least consistently bad. You're consistently a failure at it. I might add. The reality is simply this, my buddy. You are having a very guilty conscience right now. I never said that you did anything. I just said that Nick Ricada and John Delarose did something. Did you say something? Did you do something? That's something that an innocent person would never have a problem with. Because an innocent person didn't do anything. For example, I didn't do anything. I'm assuming you didn't do anything either. I never painted you with a bad brush in my life. I just said, hey, if I listed every accusation given to a bad critic, we'd be here all day. Is that fair to say? I think so. It was a way to brush it under the rug, to take care of controversy. The Ricada thing, that had just broken while I was editing that video. A couple weeks beforehand. So I'm naturally going to bring it up to brush it aside to say, hey, we're focusing on media critiques, not necessarily on criminal records. But you saw that and went, are they talking about me? Nick Wolf, and please watch OSP to cleanse your palate. I might. I'm not sure yet. I might be too tired at this point. I'm not even sure. And OSP's great, so I would just be watching it. I'll watch it off stream. I don't want to just play it and then like, see that and go, okay, I'm just gonna air their entire thing on stream without any commentary. Because I'm just gonna say, yeah, they're right. Yeah, they're right. Yeah, they're right. Which is, I love it. Love that video. But anyway, let's see what the rest he has to say.
Lies rap sheet. Here's Literature Devil's rap sheet. Here's all this stuff. No, he brings in Nick Rekieta, a completely detached party from the video, just to smear the rest of us with his crimes.
Did I smear you?
That's the level.
Do you feel smeared by that? Do you feel affected by that at all? If I didn't bring up your crap sheet, which I'm assuming you don't have, then why would you feel offended?
That's the level of dishonesty you get from Anthony Miglia's video.
Can't even say my name right.
It's completely dishonest, and it's like he takes a little snippets from all of our videos, and without showing the full context.
Oh, the full context, huh?
At all.
That doesn't help you all that much, does it?
When he does answer something, a claim that we said, specifically I say, he just outright doesn't understand what I'm saying. It's like, oh, look, if I just plug this in here, if we switch this up, it's like completely soy boy nonsense, like soy boy logic. It's complete soy boy logic.
Soy boy logic.
It's all objectively true.
Objective truth, of course.
Let's see. So it's an interesting mind that reflects the YT reviewers that are on a specific sect. I mean, it's a bad take. Like it's a dishonest take. Even Mega Comment was like, dude, you try to call these people out for lying, but your entire video's lying. Why are you doing that? Why are you lying when calling out people for lying? It doesn't make any sense.
What did I lie about? Name one. Name one thing I lied about.
So it's full of like manipulation and tricks, and be kind of fun to point out.
Fun to point out, huh?
Be kind of fun to point out. Let's see.
That's his reaction to that. Very articulate. Very clearly phrased. By the way, right here is my video right here. If you haven't seen it yet, I think it's decent. I made it in like 3 days. So frankly, I'm impressed it still is as widely watched as it is. Nick Wolf, thank you for Super Chat. We all have rap sheets and cocaine. I mean, Gramulia's making us look like we all have rap sheets and cocaine. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, right? Also, these people can't evolve if soy boy is their go-to insult for someone who's just, whatever. Also, it's very funny, I find, that they tend to react that way. Anyway, that's all the juice I've got today for this kind of stuff. I think I've found enough material for my Mary Sue video. And don't worry, Literature Devil, when you do watch this video, that I'm sure you'll react to as well because you're highly sensitive to criticism. I didn't miss any of your video. Don't worry there, buddy. We're going to get the whole context in the video itself. And if they want more context, they can come to the stream and see it. Do Comics Mate next? Comics Mate next. Somebody being his conclusion. Yeah. Yep. So, everyone, I deeply appreciate you sticking around with me for this long today. Friday is going to be I have a thumbnail actually for Friday's vid. You want to see Friday's vid? The thumbnail? I got it right here. Consider this a sneak preview of where's the file? It's right here. Perfect. Excellent. Right here. This is a preview of Friday's thumbnail. This is it. This is what it's going to be. We got here King Kong. We got Godzilla. We got some running around. We got me running away. All good stuff ahead right now. I'm pretty excited for this video. It's been a lot of work. I might add. And I'm hoping that it turns out good. We have a few special guests who'll be showing up. One of whom's in chat right now. At least one, is in chat in this video. But there'll be some surprises. There's a couple people I'm working with in this vid who I haven't worked with previously. Who I was very surprised said yes to doing some readings on this. And I'm pretty excited. I'm very excited to see this turn out good. So we're gonna hopefully it works. And then after that, next Friday is gonna be the Mary Sue video. So this Friday, it's the Kaiju video, which has been in the works for several weeks now. And next week, it's going to be the Mary Sue video. It will be lifting from this chat for supplemental material and research bits. I'll probably also reference the clips from the video proper and just have them interplay with me reacting. Kind of similar to what I did with my Channel Awesome video, which is still doing quite well. Anyway, so that being said, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I deeply appreciate you sticking around. If you came in late, you can always go back and watch the video all over again. Never going to say no to the engagement, but I digress. Thank you so much. And as always, have a good rest of the night. Take care, everyone.